75thefanatic.com.
Well, what was a drama-free Wednesday means we get to talk football on a Thursday, Johnny.
That sounds good.
I'm excited about
What a
this.
great concept in Philly sports radio.
That's nice. This is a blue moon day. All right, where do the Eagles compare to other NFC teams? And do you care? It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
I just have to ride out the storm, and I just have to wait till this guy gets fired. And that freaking sucks.
It was all about Nick Sirianni. It's not a normal thing. It's not a cool thing. It's not no big deal. It's a big thing.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Thursday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. Johnny, happy Thursday, man. We're almost done the week.
Happy Thursday. It was almost a little too cool to lower the windows today on the way to work. Almost.
I had the windows down.
I had them down just a bit on each side just to create the aerodynamic.
You know why? Because I had the heat blasting at the beginning, and then once it got a little too crispy in the car, I did a little window roll down.
Okay, so dude, you're like our man Jamie.
Yes, no, but I turn it off.
Okay, so you do turn it off.
He lets it run while the windows
that's
are
wild
down.
to me.
You know,
Yeah,
no, I'm not going to wait. Come on.
Okay,
man.
good.
My 2013.
That's like psycho
My 2013 Honda Civic can't be wasted.
My windows won't go down until April.
90 degrees.
You guys are insane.
Yes, look.
I love the windows down almost every day that I drive to work.
Little hot and cold competition. I like it. All right, so you heard it in the little open there. We get to actually talk football today.
I enjoy that. That's always sort of why I signed up for this gig.
Yeah, look, I understand that we are also an entertainment industry, so we have to talk about the storylines and we have to, discuss them, at length, no matter how annoyed people might be. We had that emailer, Mike, earlier this week, and it was actually a cordial email.
And we had a good cordial email back, by the way, when we did talk about it.
But he was upset that we weren't talking about Grant Calcaterra's impact on Sunday, and we were talking about Nick Sirianni's impact on the sidelines. Come on, man.
As was SportsCenter, as was every single thing.
Yeah.
I guarantee you every pregame show this weekend.
If Monday morning we came on the air and said, hey,
let's break down
forget what Nick did. Grant Calcaterra had a great game. Click. It would be every radio station in the entire it would be every car in the city. We're not going to do that. But we get to talk a little bit about football today, and I'm excited for that. But
sounds good.
It's a two-part first question to start the day, Johnny.
All right, I'm not ready.
At 6 in the morning.
I'm not sure I'm ready for the test. And then you pulled a little. I got my notes.
I did audible.
I write my little notes down, and then boom, and then you change things.
Every
out.
once in a while, a quarterback looks at the line of
you
scrimmage.
try to audible,
and I go, you know what? We got to check out of this one.
Maybe not here.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen a lot, according to Lane Johnson.
So, our question originally today was going to be, where do the Eagles compare to the other NFC teams? And yesterday we asked the question whether or not the Eagles were actually a good football team. Like when we were talking about them, when we talk about the Eagles, are they actually a good football team or are they a middle-of-the-road football team? And good football team, when I say good, we're talking about a team that will actually make noise in the playoffs.
You're going to win a minimum. If you tell me that a team is a good football team, you're expecting them, you think they're going to win one playoff game.
Yeah, like the Eagles.
Like they're going to win one playoff
Eagles
game.
were a playoff team last year.
Right.
They were not a good football team.
Correct.
And they showed that in the playoff game where they did not show up. So I was going to take the bait because a lot of people that have been tweeting us and emailing us and calling us and texting us about the 3-2 start that's been kind of bleh.
Okay.
A lot of people will do the whole, well, look at the other teams in the NFC. No, it's been a rough year for other teams in the NFC. Okay, that's true.
Interesting.
But I don't want to go against my morals.
I don't look at it that way, by the way, so I'm really interested to hear that point of view.
I don't want to go against my morals. I was going to take the bait, but I don't want to go against it. So our first question to start the show is, do you evaluate the Eagles alone? Like, you watch the Eagles and you go, screw how the rest of the league is playing. I'm going to evaluate the Eagles for how they are playing. Or are you someone who goes, yeah, you know what? The Eagles might be struggling a little bit, but look at that. Look at that team. Look at what's going on over there. Oh, everybody had the San Francisco 49ers as one of the better teams in the NFL, in the NFC. They're struggling too. We'll ignore their injuries. We're just going to say they stink. That's something that I don't like doing. So I'm somebody who used to, John,
Used to.
and by used to, I mean last year.
So you've just had an epiphany.
Yes.
You've changed.
I used to be like, all right, yeah, the Eagles don't look great, but neither does this team, neither does that team. Look at the record. They're winning games. They're 10-1. Ignore what's going on with the Eagles because they're winning, and the rest of the league is not. And then I found out how that bit me in the rear end.
It did.
I can't do that anymore. And so I am going to evaluate the Eagles for them. I watch the rest of the league. I have opinions on other teams. But if the Eagles are struggling, the Eagles are struggling. I'm not comparing the Eagles' struggles to other teams' struggles.
All right, here's what I'm going to say to you. I'm shocked because I think you have it backwards. When you are a team that has aspirations, and we went as far as to come close to Super Bowl or bust, but never did that.
Yeah.
We said, but we did say, I said NFC title game.
You did.
When you're that team, you have to evaluate your team against the rest of the league. When you're the Flyers, who you'll hear tonight later on the Fanatic, when they take on Seattle in a game, late night, you don't have to evaluate the rest of the league. I think you got it backwards because with expectations means you have to compare yourself. You have to say, how are you doing? If you're in a beauty contest, you got to look around the room and go, man, that girl over there is pretty. You know, I don't know if I'm going to win. You have to compare.
But what about
It's
last
what the
year?
rule is.
Because last year I did compare. And I
did.
was saying, wow, the Eagles,
You
they're
didn't-
not playing good football, but they're 10-1. The 49ers are a mess. The Chiefs aren't playing good football. The Eagles, despite their struggles, are one of the better teams in the NFC.
didn't-
So I'm going to ignore all that stuff just because they're winning and they're on top. And that bit me.
Well, it did bite you, and I don't think that it I believe that I got fooled last year big time because I kept believing things were going to change.
Right.
I really did. I believed it up until the Tampa Bay game. I thought it would be the playoff game. I think I said 17-13 they were going to win. I thought it was going to be an ugly game. They'd find a way to win and then on to Detroit and see what they could do. It didn't work out that way. It's you can do both. But if you're an Eagles fan and you're not looking at the rest of the league, I think you're sticking your head in the sand.
Well, and so, but
I think
okay.
you're sticking your head in the sand as a defense mechanism of not wanting to be kicked in the privates again.
Well, no, but here's the deal. Like, I can't. Last year was different. They were at least winning football games. They were 10-1. They're 3-2 this year.
I got you.
And so
I'm not worried about like 3-2. If anyone had told me, even with what I thought of this team, hey, the Eagles are going to be 3-2 after 5 games, I wouldn't have said break glass, pull the alarm.
Of course
After
not.
watching that, how many times with Andy Reid did we watch that?
Right.
Where teams started sort of slow.
But then you see the way
But
that way that it's
yeah,
played
exactly.
out,
Then
and
it
you start
looks
going, "Oh, maybe 3-2 isn't all that
Right,
great."
exactly.
But if I go, "All right, yeah, the Eagles are 3-2, but the 49ers are just 3-3, and they're on top of their division.
And Dallas
Seahawks
sucks.
are 3-3, and Dallas sucks, and all this kind of stuff." Like, I did this last year, and it didn't work. And the Eagles aren't playing good football. The only way I can compare them to other teams right now are the teams ahead of them, and they're nowhere close to the Lions.
They're nowhere
They're
close to the
nowhere
Lions.
close to the Lions.
Are they close to Tampa Bay? That's what I'm saying to you is they're not.
They didn't show it when they played each other.
No, so in other words, they're not. You have to just say Tampa Bay dominated them. And by the way, Tampa Bay has dominated some other people too. You're not close to Tampa Bay at the moment.
No, you're not.
There's
Now
an
that-
argument for that one. Then you're closer than you look because you played them without Devontae, AJ, Lane
Right.
Johnson.
Absolutely.
Like I don't think
Absolutely.
they're better, but I think they're not as far away as they looked.
Do you think that if you were to look at it right now that you are, where do you feel about you are with the Packers? Because I feel good that it would be a one possession game till the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, you beat
But
them.
I don't feel good that it would automatically like we already beat the Packers. We'll beat them again.
No, I can't
Type of
say
thing.
that. Right.
I think it would be one of those games very similar to the one we played earlier this year. I just look at it as I think it's a bit of a defense mechanism, and I think we all were burned by last year. I'm expecting that the Eagles are going to wash us of this thought process.
I hope so. Now,
No, I'm hoping it too, but I'm more than hoping it because hope's not a strategy. I'm believing it
Right.
that it's coming. And I believe it will start on Sunday as far as to make us feel a bit better about what's going on.
but how is it a defense mechanism, John, when I go, I don't want to compare the Eagles to other teams because and
Every time-
I'll list my reasonings.
Okay.
If Jalen Hurts is struggling,
Right.
I want him to play better. I don't care that another quarterback is struggling. Because a lot of people did the whole, well, Hurts has 4 interceptions, but so does Patrick Mahomes.
Well, that's-
I don't give a damn because I know that Patrick Mahomes is going to be playing in February, right? Like pencil
or
it
close
in,
to it.
right? I don't care. So just because Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes both have the same amount of interceptions, I don't know if that's still true today, but they did last week when both entering the week 6 game against the Browns. I don't know if that's still true. Regardless, I don't want to compare Jalen Hurts to Patrick Mahomes. Oh, Patrick Mahomes is having struggles too. No, I want Jalen Hurts to play better. I don't want to compare. Yeah, you know what? That defensive pass rush isn't that great, but neither is this team's. I don't care. I want the pass rush of the Eagles to play better.
To any of those people who bring up the Patrick Mahomes stuff, I would say, are the Eagles 5-0?
Exactly.
Does Patrick Mahomes have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon, all those weapons?
No.
And by the way, he doesn't have as good an offensive line. So stop with any comparison. The name Patrick Mahomes should never cross your lips.
No, it shouldn't.
In trying to defend Jalen Hurts. Except if you were to say, back in that Super Bowl,
Right,
they played toe-to-toe, and they did. Unfortunately, from that point, one quarterback's gone one way, the other quarterback's gone the other.
Right. So I think what the point I'm trying to make is, yeah, I can point out flaws of the Eagles and find flaws of other teams. But instead of me doing that, I want to be more focused on the flaws of the Eagles and how or why they need to be better.
So what's your gut instinct say to you? If you were to talk about is it smarter to do what you're doing? Do you think it's
so. Like, why should I?
Or are you just doing it for your mental health as an Eagles fan?
No,
and I'm being honest.
I don't think this is helping my mental health. Helping my mental health would be by coping and saying, yeah, we have issues, but so do the other teams. I'm actually making this thing more harder for me. We had a conversation yesterday about who were we talking about? That he got angry, so Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones.
The Cowboys are a mess right now. He goes on his sports talk show in Dallas, right? And he gets mad at the two hosts interviewing him about the struggles of the team. He deflected. Instead of being angry with himself about putting together a team that can't win, he got angry at the radio hosts for asking him about it, right?
Because a lot of these teams, believe me, they expect you to be bootlickers.
Yeah. Well,
They want you to they think that, wow, I'm paying you, I want positive publicity.
but I'm just not trying to deflect. Instead of me saying, yeah, Jalen Hurts is struggling, but so is this guy. No. Why don't I just focus on Jalen Hurts' struggles and how it should be better? And he had a great game last week. But you get what I'm just trying to use him as an
I think
example.
he had a good game last week.
All right, he had a good game. It was one of his better games.
But here's one of the things we're doing. Last week, by any standard, that wasn't a great game at all. They only
it
scored
was.
20 points.
No, we were just
but
happy.
you know what we're doing
We were
is,
happy that he didn't turn the football
well,
over.
the thing is, here's what I don't want to see you do in the process of where you're at. I don't want to see you lowering the standards. Because I can tell you the effort that Jalen Hurts did last week, we were glad with no turnovers. That doesn't beat anybody in the postseason.
Right.
That game doesn't beat. But I've heard it said, well, he had a great game last week. We're just happy that he didn't turn the ball over. We need to see a great game out of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
We need to see a complete game out of Jalen Hurts. We haven't in a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Green Bay game opening week was with the turnovers that he had. It wasn't. They won the game again. Won the game. And the win the game crowd will always try to say, stop looking at the bad stuff. Just look at the good stuff. That's not the way it works.
And I've seen something on social media a lot this
What?
season. Like at the end of every week, there's people that post the screenshots of like the passing leaders or
Okay.
the interceptions. And then they do the whole, I thought the way people were talking about it, Jalen Hurts is having a terrible season, right?
Is he having a good season?
He's not having a good season. I wouldn't say he's having the worst season of all time.
He's not. No, he's not.
But how about instead of just looking at individual statistics, how about we look at something that matters? What about points per game?
That'd be nice.
The Eagles
Or 18th.
they're 18th.
Yeah, they're 14th in defense, 18th. The defense is outplaying this offense.
So
now there's been injuries. As Connor pointed out earlier, there are
Absolutely.
reasons. So, and I think those aren't excuses. I think those are reasons.
Those are reasons.
Partial.
Yeah.
But when they had Lane Johnson and they had Devontae Smith, they still weren't cruising,
Right.
even without AJ.
I just don't get why we do this. So
I do.
Connor, I want to get your thoughts on this, but our question to start at 610-632-0975. When you evaluate the Eagles, right, when you sit back and you think about this team, do you evaluate them on their own, or do you evaluate them by comparing their situation with other teams? I did that last year, and I think I did that to make myself feel better about the Eagles. This year, I want to do the opposite, and it's not making me feel better about the Eagles if I just evaluate the Eagles. I could find any way to try to make myself feel better about this football team. Well, this team's struggling. That team's struggling. But I did that last year, and it bit me in the rear end. Connor, where are you at on this?
A lot of rear end biting today, Bob.
Yes.
I absolutely always evaluate them compared to other teams. Like, that's the only way in my mind you can do it. There have been some slow people in the history of the world that have won races because everyone else in the race was slower than them. You just have to be the fastest. You just have to be the best team. And sometimes I think we get so caught up in the standard for these teams, and it's not just the Eagles, teams in this city, that we lose track of how they compare to their peers. And that doesn't mean that it's always the best way to do it. And that doesn't mean sometimes it is a defense mechanism. And sometimes it's the opposite, where it brings you back to earth a little bit with those teams. But to watch the Eagles in a vacuum is not the proper way, to me, to evaluate a team they don't play the Eagles. The Eagles don't play each other. Like, they play other teams around the NFL.
They seem like they beat themselves a lot, though.
That's fair enough. But the bottom line is, if they don't look good and every other team looks worse, then you're still in a fine spot. So you need to have that comparison to understand what you're up against.
But it's interesting. You say defense mechanism, right? We do that for the teams that are worse than the Eagles. Nobody's going to do that with the Lions. No Eagles fan, today's show, will call in and say, yeah, the Eagles might be struggling a little bit, but, man, the Lions are playing really good football. Nobody's going to do that. They're only going to look at the teams that are also struggling, or they're going to only look at the teams that may be beneath the Eagles. No Eagles fan is going to compare the Eagles to the Lions.
Well, then that's a flaw of ours, and that's not a true comparison to other teams, and that's something that we need to work on. That's a weakness of a fan if you do that. But it's natural, right? You want to feel good about the team. You do have to see the teams that are better, though. It's the whole package of comparison. And right now, the Eagles are a second-tier team in the NFC.
And so that's the second question today.
That's a good one.
If I were to play the game of comparing the Eagles to other teams, where are the Eagles compared to other teams? So right now, we know that the Eagles are not even in first place of their division. The Commanders are playing good football.
The Commanders have played a completely better brand of football than the Eagles have.
And their second loss was to a Baltimore Ravens team that could be one of the final four teams in the NFL.
In their building.
Right. So, tough. And they only lost by a touchdown.
Correct.
So it's not like the Commanders played a bad game.
Well, that was sort of cosmetic.
I know.
But still.
But the Commanders are in first place of your division. The Lions just beat the doors off the Cowboys 47-9, and they're playing a good brand of football, and they're not even in first place of their division. The Vikings are 5-0.
That's till Sunday.
I agree with you. I don't necessarily believe in the Vikings, but the Vikings have played better football than the Eagles this year. Is that correct?
The Vikings have played considerably better.
So
in every facet of the game.
So where do the Eagles actually rank in the NFC? You say a second-tier team, Connor. How small is the first tier, and how big is the second tier?
I would say there's 4 to maybe 5 teams ahead of the Eagles right now. They're those top 4 true contenders that you could see playing in the second round.
Name them just so everybody can.
I would go with Detroit. Right now, you have to put Minnesota in there.
Yeah.
You have to put Tampa in there with the way they've been beating teams down. And I hesitate to put Washington. I'd probably pick another.
What about Atlanta? A team that beat you and is 4-2.
Yeah.
I hear you.
The fourth one is tough. There's a couple of teams that are in there, and you just have to select one of the group, like someone from the West that you believe is going to win that division. Maybe another team from the North if you believe in the Packers. Maybe Washington if you believe in Jaden Daniels. Maybe Atlanta down there. But those are all the teams that are candidates for that. And if you put one of those teams above the Eagles, okay. But if you put all of those teams in the same kind of sphere as the Eagles, also okay.
I think
except the Lions, you can't.
No. I'm saying the other teams that we were talking about for that fourth spot.
I don't put Minnesota ahead of them, even though they have the record. Because as I said yesterday, and I may look so stupid on this one, I think they're going to finish in last place. So I don't believe it. I think it is complete fool's gold.
Could be.
The Vikings.
But then there's three
I
other
do
teams
put-
in that division that you could make a case for that are better than the Eagles.
I don't put the Packers ahead of them.
You shouldn't because the Eagles won.
I don't put and I'm not going to put the Bears ahead of them.
I'm not going to either.
So I'm like to me, I look at Lions and 49ers that I say distinctly that I believe are ahead of the Eagles.
So, our two questions today, a two-parter at 6 in the morning. I know it's tough for the people.
Yeah, what is this?
Would love for you to climb in, 610-632-0975, text line or phone line. Do you evaluate the Eagles alone, or do you compare them to other teams? I have now flipped from last year to this year. I can't worry about the other issues that other teams have. I need the Eagles to figure out their own crap. And if we do compare the Eagles to other teams, where are they at? 610-632-0975. Coming up next, you're going to hear from Tim McManus because he said something that the Eagles need to do that I've been asking for a couple of weeks, which will lead to another question. What can the Eagles do differently to look like that football team we expected them to be? It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Thursday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. We're talking football, talking Eagles.
That's a great concept.
Yeah, it's not Nick Sirianni, even though we will play something from him coming up at some point next hour. We may have a new Nick Sirianni on our hands. I'll believe it when I see it.
A new Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. But our two questions today. Do you evaluate the Eagles alone, or do you compare them to other teams? And then if you do compare them to other teams, where are they in the NFC? And again, the reason why I asked the first part of that question of do you evaluate the Eagles alone or compare to other teams, I compared the Eagles to other teams last year in what I believe was a defense mechanism. Yeah, the Eagles are 10-1. They might be struggling, but look at the Niners. They're struggling. They lost 3 straight games this year. The Eagles haven't done that. The Eagles beat the Chiefs. The Eagles are better than this team. The Eagles are better than that team. And it may have been a defense mechanism because we then saw the Eagles never make the adjustment, never play better, and they all of a sudden were passed by a lot of those teams that we were comparing them to.
They were.
This year, the Eagles are 3-2. I can point out that the 49ers are 3-3.
Why?
Because of injury.
Correct.
I know, but I could try to be like,
do you think the Eagles have lost games because of injury?
I would like to think that the Buccaneers game would have been different.
Do you think they win that game?
I can't say yes, but I can't say no.
I'm going to say no.
All right.
Because of the fact that it was that dominant and the Eagles lost to them in January with a full complement pretty much of players except AJ. I don't think it would have definitely went different.
Now,
I don't think the Eagles have lost yet this year because of injury.
Okay.
I think they've
That's
lost
fair.
because of themselves.
Now the Eagles are 3-2. There's another team in the division with 3 wins.
There is.
The Dallas Cowboys.
3 road victories and 0-3 at home.
Which is wild.
How about that? That's crazy.
But it's funny, right? I can say, well, yeah, I mean, at least the Eagles aren't the Cowboys. They have the same amount of wins. Right? So I'm sure a lot of people would use the Cowboys as the defense mechanism of the Eagles not necessarily playing all that great. Well, at least we're not the Cowboys. They have the same amount of wins. They both have 3. Now, the Eagles have 1 less loss because of the bye week. But why should I compare the Eagles to the Cowboys to try to make myself feel better when they have the same amount of wins? And it's not like the Eagles have played great football this year.
And why would we celebrate? Again, I'll get into this later because there's something I wanted to throw in about something I heard at the Phillies press conference that I think applies to the Eagles.
Okay.
But is that being better than the Cowboys is not going to get us anywhere. It's not like that doesn't get us anywhere if you're talking about winning something this year. If you actually think this team could win something this season, being better than the Cowboys, it's obvious now through 6 games. That's not going to be your measuring stick.
No, it can't be.
It can't be. So I think we need to and we love the big brother, little brother crap with Dallas. Like, look, we're better than the Cowboys. At this point, you got to put that in the shelf because you're really not bragging about anything.
No, but it still gives you perspective on where other teams are around the league. There have been times this year, like that Tampa Bay game, I felt like the Eagles were the worst football team in professional football. They got smoked. They look awful.
They did.
Sometimes you get caught in this just watching the Eagles if you don't look at other teams and you think the team is worse than what they are. It doesn't mean you're winning anything by being better than the Cowboys, but it's more perspective that it is knowing this team's ceiling sometimes.
When the Eagles aren't playing on Sunday, when the Eagles are playing on Sunday, let's say the game's not on. Eagles are playing at 4:30.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing at 1?
I watch other games.
So, do you watch other games or do you watch Red Zone?
I'll go back and forth. I might do the TV and Red Zone on something else.
Okay, so
Trick question. I'm doing the Birds Insider pregame show.
That is correct.
Damn it.
Bill Colarulo.
You got me.
that is, by the way, comes up on Sunday too. You guys will be
does,
ready to
10
go
a.m.
with that. I think that watching Red Zone, which I do a lot when the Eagles aren't playing, and I'll try to do something and get something out of the way for work or otherwise while I'm doing it. Watching Red Zone makes me do the thing that Andrew doesn't want to do. Comparing the Eagles against other teams in the NFL.
Right.
When I just watch a game or focus on a game, like the Giants Bengals the other night. I'm watching Giants Bengals the other night going, okay, these are the next two opponents for the Eagles.
Yeah.
When I'm watching that, I feel better about the Eagles. When I watch Red Zone, I feel worse about the Eagles.
Right, because you're seeing the big play all over the place, and you're going, how come the Eagles haven't had a big play like that?
And what I realize is where people say it's a week-to-week league, I don't buy that at all. It is a week-to-week league that you see upsets, you see strange things.
Right.
But I look at it as more as I'll look at this a 17-game season like in quarters. And pretty much for like the first quarter of this one, the Eagles have been meh.
Yeah, they haven't been great. They haven't been bad, but they haven't been great.
But I could see right now where this team is ready to take off and go on a roll.
And that would be amazing. And it would be
we
amazing
need to
if
see
that
it.
started Sunday.
But when I watch the Red Zone, I go, damn.
Right.
These other teams look so much sleeker. Look at their offensive play design. Look at their stars stepping up. And I say, damn, what are the Eagles doing?
So, another thing that we can discuss, obviously our main topics is the evaluation question, but I wonder, what are some things the Eagles can do differently or better that will change things a little bit? So, I've been on this discussion of maybe simplifying the offense, and I don't mean simplify like last year's offense, which was the same 3 plays. I just mean maybe not as many shots downfield. The Eagles love chunk plays. I talked to Andrew DeCecco, joined us during the pregame show last weekend, and I asked him that question. I said, hey, what kind of offense do you expect to see following the bye week, following the self-scouting? And he said, well, you know how they value chunk plays. I don't necessarily love relying on chunk plays. It's almost like relying on the 3 ball in the NBA or relying on hitting the home run in Major League Baseball, and then if pitchers are beating you, you can't put the ball in play and scratch runs.
Have you ever seen a team do that? You ever seen a team do that?
Sounds like a baseball team in our city.
It sounds like something we see a lot here.
Now, one of the things I think the Eagles can do is maybe find ways to get the ball out quicker. And here's Tim McManus yesterday on the Best Show Ever talking about just that.
And we've seen like some evidence that Hurts and the offense have been doing that operationally. Well, they have some of the quick hit throws. Andrew can attest to that. You know, that's what dominated this summer was Hurts getting the ball out of his hands quickly to his playmakers and allowing them to create. It's part of the reason why it looked so highly efficient and why Hurts wasn't turning the ball over. I was expecting to see more of it. Like there's been some. They want to get back to that rhythm passing and get Hurts into kind of that flow, make sure the turnovers stay down. And in this particular game, ride Barkley. I think that would be a pretty good recipe for this team going forward.
I like that idea too, but the majority of that conversation is get the ball out quick. Throw over the middle of the field. Throw a slant route. That A.J. Brown Hurts slant route that we saw last year until they just decided to stop, people didn't defend it.
He's also passed well over the middle of the field this year.
Yes. Oh, and last year, too.
So I don't understand where the narrative comes from.
I don't either.
That there's no way in my mind that I believe Jalen Hurts, the competitor that he is, the talent that he is saying, I don't like throwing it over the middle.
Right.
Don't make me throw it over the middle. He's actually good at it.
Yeah.
We've got enough data to say, he's really pretty good at it. Like it's when people say he wants to run out of the pocket all the time and everything. And in 22, now it was 22, he was the best pocket passer in the NFL. Like, I mean, there's things about Jalen Hurts' game that he's already proven he knows how to do.
Right.
It's just a matter of, is it being drawn up for him, and is it I don't want to blame coaches, but sometimes I feel like that I don't know what Jalen Hurts is still, but I have all this data to know exactly what he can do.
Right.
Now,
Absolutely.
Which bothers me.
How much of this conversation is they're 2-0 with A.J. Brown? Like, how much of this conversation is how much 11 matters?
Well, 11 matters so much.
Yeah.
11 matters so much.
But, people like posting the route tree stuff.
Yeah.
Did you see his?
I did.
It was the same 2 routes. Like pretty
there's
much
no
the entire game.
I will say this. There appears to be no creativity with A.J. Brown. He's just
On the coaching staff side, not
yes.
him.
Oh,
obviously.
no,
Right.
AJ, I believe there's just no creativity with him. And it floors me
Yeah.
that there's not. I don't think there is if you look at the route tree with Devontae Smith. They're not finding ways to use these guys creatively.
No. It was the same thing last year. It
And-
was A.J. Brown deep shot.
And to me,
Devontae over the middle.
that's not Kellen Moore. It's not Kellen. I can't
Doesn't
believe
seem like it.
I can't believe if Kellen Moore was brought in here to run this high school Harry offense. I'm pissed. I got to tell you, that drives me crazy.
All right, so coming up next, I want you guys both to answer the question. What is something the Eagles can do differently in your eyes that you think will be better for this Eagles team, either offensively or defensively, even though the defense hasn't been the problem? And I want to start getting some text messages and calls as well at 610-632-0975. I heard the text line is buzzing. Do you evaluate the Eagles alone, or do you compare them to other teams? Maybe as a defense mechanism. And if you do compare them against other teams, where are they in the NFC? It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now is the time to become a Fanatic MVP.
97 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. All right. I want to check the text line because Connor told us it's buzzing.
All right.
Our topic today, when you evaluate the Eagles, do you evaluate them by themselves or do you compare them to other teams? And we'll exactly refresh everything, reset everything, come up at the 7 o'clock hour if you're just tuning in because there's a reason why I have switched. But I would like to hear from the people that have chimed in so far. You can text in, you can call in 610-632-0975. And after a text or two, I want you guys to answer the question about something that the Eagles can do better or can change and not just say, oh, they need to get to the quarterback more. Like, what is something that they can actually do to make this team better? But what do you have on the text line, Connor?
Yeah, it's funny. We're actually pretty split on this one, boys. So we've been getting responses on both sides of the conversation, which
Beautiful.
is probably a good sign of a good conversation. A check-in here from Brian in Belmar, who says, the Phillies taught me you got to be hot at the right time, not necessarily compared to other teams. New system, no preseason, no AJ after game one. Hurts cut turnovers out and let this young defense get better, and they will compare much better to other teams.
Does
Does it work in football?
I was about to ask that
I
question.
don't believe that.
I don't think it does.
I don't think so either.
How often do you see in football that it's now the Green Bay Packers won a Super as a 6th seed?
I mean, the Giants both times
The
they won
Giants
theirs.
were a 5
Yeah, but
seed.
you know why?
Giants were a 5 seed and a 4 seed.
The one that they beat the undefeated Patriots in, it's not because they were hot going into the playoffs. The big story was they played the Patriots the final week of the regular season or second to last week, and Spags, at the time was with the Giants, realized something that they could do against Brady and then utilized that in the Super Bowl. It wasn't because they rattled off 4 straight wins getting to the playoffs. It was, all right, we figured something out. The Eagles, I can use the Eagles as an example. They were 5-7, won 4 straight games to get into the playoffs. Carson Wentz, his head gets drilled into the ground by Jadeveon Clowney. What did that mean? Game over. Josh McCown was not winning them the football game that day.
Football almost feels like the opposite, where it doesn't matter being hot. It matters if your quarterback is great and your head coach is great.
It matters if you have a good football team.
I think, too, is that I'm going to believe more now because baseball has sort of broken me a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to believe more of what I see over 4 months in football, much, much more than believe what I see over 4 months in baseball.
Absolutely. Because the baseball thing, the hot team is, I think, a legitimate thing.
It's a trend that's just becoming, and it's becoming annoying as hell to me.
Yeah, but it is what it is, man.
No, but it's annoying as hell to me because the baseball season has now become the least relevant when you play the most games, and it almost means the least.
You have to be in a playoff.
Or maybe we're sour grapesing it. I'm sour grapesing it, not you guys.
I mean, look, you have to be in a playoff position come September.
Right.
And then it's how you're playing that final month. That's what it's going to come down to, more often than not.
It is. It absolutely is.
All right. Give us one more text.
All right. No name on this one. They say, I believe you have to compare the Eagles to themselves and not to other teams. Being the best smelling, poop emoji, doesn't work in the playoffs. And some teams that are great right now, like Minnesota or Washington, may not be that great in January. The only way to improve and be a great player or team is to compete with yourself and get better.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, why should I ignore maybe a flaw of the Eagles because another team has it?
Well, you shouldn't, but it sounds like that texter is talking about from a player or coach perspective. We're on the outside looking in. The Eagles can't compare themselves to other teams. They have to get better against their standard.
But let me just slip it in fast then, because Connor said it again. I'm so tired of the word standard.
The standard is the standard.
I'm so freaking tired of hearing the Eagles say it. And then Rob Thompson came out with it the other day.
Standard.
We won 95 games, we made the playoffs and everything, but the standard around here is winning World Series. Bull crap. What? You haven't won a World Series since 2008. What the hell is the standard around here is winning World Series? BS. BS. That's not the standard. The standard for the Kansas City Chiefs is winning Super Bowls.
Yeah.
There's no standard around here for winning World Series. And Rob Thompson spit that out of his mouth the other day. And I wanted to throw up. I'm like, no, it's not. The standard isn't winning World Series here.
We want that to be the standard.
We want it to be the standard. But until you only can have something be a standard once you said it.
Well,
The Eagles with the standard, our standard around here is that's more Nick Sirianni and players gobbledygook. It means nothing. When you go out and you wet your pants last year and go 1-6 and then lose to the Buccaneers, and then you start out this year playing the way you do. You know what the standard is around here? Mediocre football, star players not delivering. Until you change the standard, that's your standard.
Right.
Don't talk to me about some standard that you don't achieve and that you don't sustain and you never have.
well, it's not about sustaining it, but it's about believing you can get there
No.
realistically. And both of those coaches you just brought up have coached in championship, a series, or a game.
But
so,
standards are not, a standard is not something you aspire to. A standard is something that you've achieved and you maintain.
I think it can be something you aspire to. People
But
have
you don't-
too
but it's not a
high of
standard.
Set
for a reason.
standards.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
your standard, the standard of the standard of the Eagles organization right now is, yes, they had one great year. They had one great year in 2022. And the standard under Nick Sirianni has been erraticism.
Yeah, but they're not saying what they have achieved. It's what they expect
Yeah,
to
but a
achieve.
standard
then-
is what you.
hold
A
on.
Now
standard
we're
of
getting into the word breakdown.
Right.
no, it's
something
not.
you
But
do.
it's not. Yeah, because it's what the word means.
Well, were you bothered by?
It's what it means.
You
Were
get too
you
caught up in this
bothered
stuff,
by
Johnny.
Jalen Hurts saying it last year?
Yes.
Because that was following the
Yes,
Super Bowl
because,
season.
But he wasn't. Once you start reciting it over and over again, when it's the plane is spiraling out of control.
yeah.
At that point, I don't want to hear it because your standard is erraticism. And honestly, I think that's the standard for the Eagles.
All right, coming up next, we'll reset the show. If you're just tuning in, if you weren't awake for the two-part question way back at 6 a.m.,
Well, where were you?
we'll reset the show coming up next. Also, we may have a new Nick Sirianni on our hands. Again, I'll believe it when I see it, but he's telling us
Is
what...
that a Southern accent you just used?
I didn't
Sounds
I'll
like
tell you
I
what.
didn't think
I'll
that.
tell you, I'll
I didn't
believe
think
it
that
when I
did.
see it.
I didn't think I did. Here,
I'm
Nick.
not a smart man, but I know what love is.
Asses. Nick Sirianni, hear from him next. It's Kincade Salciunas 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this Thursday morning. Don't forget, check out the Fanatic Deal of the Week. Get a $50 gift card to Two Stones Pub for $25. Gift cards are valid on food and drinks at all 6 of the Two Stones Pub locations in northern Delaware and southeast PA, as well as the 2SP Tap House. So again, $25 gets you $50. You get extra $25. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. Coming up around 7:10, you're going to hear from maybe a new Nick Sirianni. I'll believe it when I see it, but he did talk about it yesterday about how he's going to handle himself a little bit differently with the media and on the sidelines. Again, I think it's a problem that he has to overthink this stuff and think about. I'm worried that that's going to be on his mind while he's coaching a game.
I will tell you that I think he's got the bandwidth for it.
I hope so.
I really do. I think he's just someone who doesn't practice self-control as far as his emotions. And I know many, many successful people that I know that are sort of like this.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in our industry. I know people who have been highly successful in this industry who have no level of self-control to be told, don't touch the hot stove. Don't touch the hot stove.
Yeah.
I got to touch the hot stove because they just can't listen. So I do believe he's got the bandwidth to make this work.
Okay.
And by the way, I wish with everything that's going on with Nick Sirianni that I didn't like him.
Yeah, because
Like
he's
I
a
wish,
good dude. I
because
know.
Because he is a really, and the more stories that I hear, the more that I've observed him, the more that I strive that he's going to have success. And he's had success.
He has had it.
But he has nothing that's sustainable.
Correct.
His standard is Erastus's.
Right.
I think he can get us back to winning again. I certainly hope he can. But the thing is, sometimes you're so worried about something that, yesterday I just let it grip and rip. And I tried to stop worrying about every golf shot.
Right.
I just played it, and I tried to stop swinging hard. And purposely all day long, I just said, don't swing hard, don't swing hard. And I hit my new clubs as well as I've ever hit them
then
since
that's
I've got
a good
it.
thing.
I've only played them 7 times.
So he's
but
going to say, don't be emotional, don't be
Right.
emotional, and he'll actually be a good offensive mind?
Honestly, I think it may calm him down. It
Will
may,
will
because
it help him
I was
be
thinking,
a good coach?
because I was thinking about swinging easy yesterday, and by like the 4th or 5th hole, I stopped thinking about it. So maybe Nick can get into a thing where, look, he's an excellent clock management guy.
Except for last weekend.
Oh, yeah, that was bad.
It was very
Andy, but it was also a bad day for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more of an anomaly. He's
Yeah,
done
I got
good.
you.
I think he's been outstanding. And
I
by the
think
way,
so, too.
Andy Reid was here at 14 years. I don't think he ever got good at it.
Right.
So, I mean, there's things that he brings to the table that can work out. But wow.
Now, real quick, one thing, we never talked about this.
Okay.
It just hit me.
What's that?
Did you hear in his press conference after the game Sunday
Oh, I heard all of it.
when he talked about he didn't see a play because he had his head down?
He says on
he was like
third.
too nervous to watch.
He says, I'm too nervous to watch. I put my head down on 3rd and 8s.
I don't
I
need that.
My wife goes, I'd fire him.
Like,
She's listening to the press conference because we watched it on YouTube when I got home.
yeah.
Because I heard it on the radio and I said, I got to see it.
Wait, what?
So she put up and she goes, I'd fire him. If my coach is I'm too scared to watch.
Like, you have to
that's crazy
see
to
how
me.
the play plays out, and then if it doesn't go well, you then have some information to try to make it better the next time.
Like, I can't imagine that
you can't beat.
That's weird.
You're
That's
not a fan.
no, exactly. That's what a fan does.
You're not. And look, there's players that sometimes when it's the game-winning field goal, they turn around. They want to see how the fans react or something. You're the coach, man.
Yeah. This might not be fair, and this is a stupid fan reaction for me, but I think there are some people
And every
in the
once in a
fan
while,
base.
every once in a while, stupid fan reactions are allowed.
Is it bad? I kind of am cool with him being distracted if it means he stays away from Kellen Moore.
Yes, it is bad.
I'm only half kidding there. Like, the less time he spends coaching, I think the better for this team. I don't know if that's fair, and that's not realistic, but that is the
It's
hoagie
not
mouth type
fair,
of
but-
like, yeah, dude, focus on something other than calling offensive plays.
Okay.
I don't mind that opinion.
Which is crazy to say about the head coach of the damn
It is,
Eagles.
Yeah.
but I don't mind it because I do think he can contribute in other ways.
In other ways.
Yeah.
All right.
You can
Well,
hype the
especially
guys
when
up.
you have Kellen Moore here and you've got Vic Fangio. You got two guys that have great pedigree.
They do.
You should be
So
able
just
to
keep your head down, Nick, and
Hey,
let
Nick.
the other guys get to work.
motivational speeches, videos, whatever you want to do.
All right, so here's what our main topic is today. If you're just joining us, good morning.
Good morning.
You can climb in on the phone line, text line, 610-632-0975. When you evaluate the Eagles, do you evaluate them on their own or do you compare them to other teams? Now, hear me out, and then we'll get to the text messages. Last year, when the Eagles were 10-1, I compared them to other teams because I was trying to find reasons why the Eagles were a good football team, despite what my eyes were telling me at times. They found ways to win, which I think good teams do, no matter what the circumstances are. Good teams find ways to win. But then I would also point out, well, look at this team's flaws. Look at that team's flaws. And I ignored the Eagles' flaws.
Where did your dopey power rankings have them? Because I don't remember. I don't reference them that much. So what did it last year?
The Eagles were always in the top 5
Were they?
because
All
of
season
their
long?
record, right?
Even when they started to slide a little bit?
And then they eventually dropped out.
Okay.
I don't remember where they were, week
How bad it felt.
after the Seattle loss. I imagine they dropped a little bit further
Right.
than outside the top 5. This year, the Eagles have a lot of issues. Despite them having a 3-2 record, which is a plus 500 record, they have a lot of issues. So should I do, well, so does that team and so does this team? Or should I just say, you know what, screw the other team's issues, fix your own?
Well, that
And
should be
that's
your-
why I'm different this year.
That should be your focus always. Is what, before you start telling somebody else what they can fix, make sure you've fixed everything that you can fix.
Right. Like when Nick Sirianni says, oh, man, we just haven't found our identity yet. Other teams don't have their identities yet.
Really?
First off, other teams do have identities. Second of all, screw what other teams have or don't have. Figure your own crap out. I don't need you to tell me what the Seahawks' identity is. What's yours? What is the Eagles' identity? How through 5 games do we not know that yet when we all kind of have an idea? So instead of pointing out, and Nick did it himself, well, other teams don't have. I don't care what other teams do or don't have. Get your own stuff in order.
Well, that's a deflection. That's a deflection mechanism.
Well, and that's what
on
I
his
did
part.
last year, which is why I'm not doing that this year.
No. We can't do it. We can't do it. I don't sound, to me, you don't sound optimistic, though.
Well,
Is that fair?
No, because, hold on. I'll
No,
say this.
I'm saying it to you. No, I mean, as far as you don't sound optimistic.
I think
that,
I saw Jalen Hurts turn a corner on Sunday.
Okay.
And I'm optimistic of that.
All right.
I saw the pass rush actually get to the quarterback. Now, Cleveland's offensive line was a mess, and Deshaun Watson sucks. But I at least saw a pass rush. What I could have seen was they didn't have a pass rush like remember the Falcons game?
Yeah,
Your man
none.
Buck Belue told us that it was basically trash cans and traffic cones as the offensive line in Atlanta, and the Eagles couldn't do anything. So I'll take a win when it comes to the pass rush. They had 5 sacks last week. I'm optimistic that hopefully that can continue to get better or maintain the same.
Sure.
So there is optimism, but for me to point out other teams' flaws to try to make myself feel better about the Eagles, I'm not doing that this year. I want the Eagles to figure their crap out.
How do you think the fan base feels?
What do we got on the text line, Connor?
Well, they're conflicted, and that
That's
is
fine.
certainly where I think most people should be at where we're at right now. Now, check in here from Dave from Philly. He says, I compare the Eagles to playoff teams and how they would fare. Right now, they're mid-table ranked, but they're moving in the right direction. 2 new coordinators, growing pains are going to happen. The hope is that that's all this has been.
Now, at least he compares them to maybe teams that are above the Eagles. I see a lot of people do the whole, well, at least we're not the Cowboys.
Which I hate.
You guys have the same amount of wins. The Eagles and Cowboys have the same amount of wins. And I get it, the Cowboys' losses have
I
looked
hate worrying
far
about
worse.
the Cowboys. You know what I mean? Like, does it like it just worrying about the Cowboys means what? You're trying to be a wild card team. You're trying to be worry about the answer at quarterback that is going to be.
You mean the Commanders?
The Commanders,
Yeah.
excuse me. I do not believe the Vikings have their answer at quarterback. I think he is we're approaching the time when the pumpkin is going to.
Yeah, I think it's a
gonna-
really
the
nice
carriage-
story to
The
start
carriage
the
is going to
season.
turn back into a pumpkin.
I got you.
And I don't trust that. The one thing I do know is though they're very well coached.
And their skill position players are significantly
Yeah,
better.
Justin Jefferson's a freak.
They're very
as we
well
know.
coached. I mean, it's incredible. I like what the
They're about to get Hawkinson back.
I like
too.
what the Commanders have as far as what they have built. As far as a competent, I knew Dan Quinn when he came in. I said he could potentially be a problem. I don't think that he's going to be. He's a great strategist, but he builds a great program.
Yeah. Well, you said he's
builds-
the Red Bull guy.
He's a Red Bull guy, but also too, he's a guy like what Nick Sirianni sort of gets credit for. Players love Dan Quinn.
Right.
They love him, and look what Dallas's defense is without him.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. They're
Dallas's
an absolute
defense
mess.
is a absolute mess.
They're a mess. All right, give us one more text, and I want to play this Nick Sirianni audio because we may have a new Nick. We'll find out soon.
Yeah, sure. Okay, we've
We're
got to check
doubting
in.
the man.
No name on this one, but they say, I don't compare them to any other team. You have to take care of your own business. That's what's most important. People are talking about the Phillies being in first place all year, but they looked horrible. It goes against what Connor said about being the fastest person in a slow race. I would also probably have 8 teams ahead of the Eagles right
What?
now. Now, I think he doesn't say NFC, so he may be talking about
whoa.
just
Okay.
football
'Cause
in
that's
general.
probably-
That would
that's
be
probably
fair. That's
fair.
probably fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though they are 9th in the conference, there are 8 teams
Oh my God, yeah,
technically.
there are.
There are 8 teams technically
Record-wise,
ahead of them.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not worried
exactly.
about that holding.
All right, so you guys can continue to climb in. We'll get to more text messages as the show goes on at 610-632-0975. When you evaluate the Eagles, do you evaluate them on their own or do you compare them to other teams? And when you compare them to other teams, do you compare the lesser teams or do you try to compare them to the better teams? And when you do compare them, where are they?
Why would you compare to the lesser teams?
That's what it's a
Okay,
defense
it's so
mechanism.
fascinating
It's a
to
defense.
me.
Look, I guarantee you, there's probably somebody out there. Look, there's strange people out there. So there's always that one person. There's probably somebody out there going, oh, a lot of people had the Rams winning the NFC West. They're 1-4.
There is a monster radio station in the whole country that resides in our building.
97.5 the Fanatic.
Exactly. That Peter and Stan do a great job.
Yes.
And they literally get numbers as far as listenership that hardly any radio shows in the entire country
In the
get.
country, yeah.
You can aspire to one day get to that kind of level, but you have to be able to. You don't pick the worst shows in town to aspire
Yeah.
to. You don't think
We're not
you don't go,
aspired to. At least we're
not
better
as
than
that."
them,
Right?
yeah.
You don't set your standard at that. You try to say, well, what have we accomplished? Let's keep raising the standard. Let's keep moving it on up. I don't give a damn. Your rearview mirror. The time you spend looking in your rearview mirror in life is the most wasted. The time you worry about
Unless you're trying to change lanes.
what you did in high school, what you did, the glory days, whatever. Worry about get your feet in today.
That's today's talk show, Johnny.
This is why
Exactly.
76 is such a mess. Nobody looks in the rearview mirror in Pennsylvania,
All
apparently.
right, let's play a couple clips from the new Nick Sirianni, question
What?
mark. All right, so he spoke yesterday for his Wednesday media availability. So obviously we are removed from the antics of Sunday.
Sure.
Monday's press conference, there was a couple of Eagles-related questions. The rest of it was Nick Sirianni, his actions, blah, blah, blah. We got a little bit of both yesterday, a lot of Saquon Barkley stuff because of the storylines of Barkley going up against the Giants this weekend. But there were still some Nick Sirianni-related questions. And the first one is, and this is amazing, because Nick Sirianni talks a lot, right? And I think sometimes he talks too much, which then gives out too much information. So here he is talking too much about not going to be giving up more information moving forward. Take a listen.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes I feel like probably, John maybe asked me the other day, like, are you giving them too much information? Probably. So I probably won't give that information to you guys anymore. But, probably give you too much information that, that's just probably rethink that. I think at the end of the day, I want to be accountable for the things and make no mistake about it, everything that is on that field and every product that is on that field has my accountability on it. So if there's a mistake on that field, then that belongs to me. As minute as you could think of that mistake being, and I really believe that, and I really think that way in the sense of like, okay, this guy missed a tackle in space. Well, did I put him in positions to make that tackle? Did I help him with that? And so that's constantly on my mind of how we do that. And so, again, if I want these players to have accountability for the things that they didn't do right, and only the attempts to get better, then I better do it myself.
You could say that in fewer words.
Oh my gosh. It took him 1,000 words to say something. And by the way, I think it's he's either completely incorrect or he's being disingenuous.
It's just it confuses me.
You're not responsible.
It confuses me because I think the genesis of that question was, hey, I made the call on 3rd and 1. I made the call here, blah, blah. So he gives a lot of information to maybe put a target on himself at times. But then in the next breath, he'll say, competitive advantage, I'm not going to tell you. So it's weird. Like, he'll give you an answer where he may say too much, like, oh, that's my chart. That's why I made the decision, my chart. But then somebody will ask you about his chart, and he'll say competitive advantage. So it's like sometimes he gives too much information. Sometimes he just says competitive advantage for no reason.
Well, I mean, to me, too, with his the whole competitive advantage stuff is not like I don't believe he's going to he talks too much because he gets drawn down these lanes of discussing things that he really shouldn't have to he doesn't have to venture into. I have no idea where it comes from. Like because I know they coach him up. They do. I know they do.
Yeah, they try.
How about they try to?
They try to coach him
but
up.
he doesn't. He just doesn't grasp it.
I don't think so.
I know what it is.
If you looked up the dictionary definition of trying to do too much, it'd be Nick Sirianni. And I don't know if I can totally blame him because the situation he's in right now, at least in the current time, before this, whatever, but he's got to feel like Atlas right now with the world on his shoulders. Like, this is clearly weighing on him. And I don't know if he's up for the task, but that's what that answer at the end, talking about, like, putting guys in position to make tackles. He's trying to take too much accountability because he feels like everything's on him right now. And that's a tough spot to be.
It's ridiculous to blame himself for it. If a guy misses a tackle, I take the blame. It's my fault. That's so stupid.
Got to tackle better.
That's so stupid.
Just
Jalen threw that interception. That's my fault. It's so disingenuous.
Sometimes it could be.
I don't think it's disingenuous.
Not.
I think it comes from a place of overly stressed about what's going wrong with this team and feeling like he's wearing all of it.
But the thing is, it's so ridiculous.
I think he's over trying to say that's on me. That's on me. That's on me.
Guy missed a block. Well, I must not have coached it up enough. No, coach, you know enough about football.
Yeah.
Sometimes guys just get their backsides beat.
Yeah.
One guy physically beats another one at the time. It has nothing to do with you, coach.
Right.
I've seen I've seen Lane Johnson give up a sack.
Yeah, it wasn't Nick Sirianni's fault.
It's Lane. I got to coach him up better. BS.
All right, one more clip for you. Now, this one is interesting, but can he do it? Here he is talking about how he's going to show his full self only behind closed doors.
I think you always have to be your authentic self, but you know what? Maybe your authentic self's only, for your players and for in the building, right? And there's a time and place for that. Shoot, I'm not going to stop thanking the fan at any away game. I'm not going to stop thanking the fans after a win on the away games to, that I can do some of that and be your authentic self while still, again, you're always a work in progress. Like, I think I've made a lot of strides as far as my composure during the game. That not being said, this at a certain time after this week, I think this is probably the wrong time to say that, but you know what? You're never going to be perfect. You always got to stay true to yourself, and you're always trying to improve yourself. But like I said, this is how climbing and getting better of the things that you want to get better at as a man, as a person, right? It goes like this. We'd all love it to do this, but that's not the reality of life. That's not the reality of getting better. That's not the reality of growth mindset. You have setbacks. You have falls as you go. And so I think it's just learning from those things and try to still be on this path, even though there's going to be some dips in that path.
Do you think he can actually do it?
No, I don't think he can answer a question in less than 50. It sounds like he's running for president. Like it's a presidential interview, and these guys don't want to answer questions.
Right.
So both you ask them one question, and they're going to tell you something totally different. That's how it sounds to me. No, I don't. Now I'm doubting. I hadn't heard that one.
The new Nick Sirianni. He won't give as much information.
Sure he will.
And he's only going to show his true self behind closed doors.
Then that's not your true self. The minute you start doing that, you're not being your true self.
Now, I'm going to say this. Coming up next, there's something that I think he can do behind closed doors that would be totally fair. And we'll discuss that next. We'll get to more text messages. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
1065 The Fanatic. So we played that audio from Nick Sirianni where he said he's done giving too much information. I'll believe it when I see it. And he's also
he can't stop speaking.
He's also only going to show his true self to his players behind closed doors. He's not going to do it on the sideline, which, again, I'll believe it when I see it.
And again, Connor will say, you're getting into the words too much. No. If you're not showing I'm only going to show my true self behind closed doors. So in other words, you're not showing your true self. You're not being your true self. You're living a fake life, and you're living a real life somewhere else. It's so dumb.
Well, his real life will be behind closed doors.
It's so dumb. Yeah, but that's dumb. It's not. You're not living your life isn't about living a real life one way and then another way.
Do you think Bill Belichick was the guy? You see what he's like on the Manning cast now compared to where he was at during press conferences?
He's not a head coach anymore. I can tell you a point. I know someone who worked with the PR for him for 4 years.
Okay.
Said it was a nightmare.
Okay.
Said it was a nightmare. I worked for Mike Keenan for 4 years of my life, and I love Coach. Love you, Coach. And he wrote a book, and he's doing better now from his health issues. I can tell you this much: he was a maniac at times.
Okay.
Like a maniac. When he's not coaching, he's like a different person, a completely different person. When you're coaching, there's a certain level of craziness that comes with it as far as what you have to be doing.
Okay.
And Nick, he's read every self-help book.
I know.
And then he just throws them in there, all the little buzzwords and everything. For God's sakes, just be you, Nick.
Well,
just be you.
Here's one thing I'll allow for him to be behind closed doors. And I think every athlete, coach, anybody that walks through the city has the right to be this way behind closed doors.
Meaning what?
Nick Sirianni can hate every one of us.
Absolutely he can.
I don't care. Just don't freaking go on the sideline and start barking at Eagles fans, you nitwit. You could say behind closed doors, I hate these people. Alec Boehm clearly felt that way at one point. Nick Castellanos felt that way in the playoffs the other day. You just got to be careful with when you're saying it and who you're saying it to. Nick Sirianni can hate every one of us. That's okay. All good, man. Just win football games.
And by the way, if Nick Sirianni hated the media in this town, I have zero issue with it. None.
Of course not.
No issue with it at all. I also think he brought a lot of it on himself. Because the media in this town can be completely insufferable. Absolutely. I look at John Tortorella and what he deals with in this town. And I know he rolls his eyes at a lot of it, and he should.
Yeah.
The clutching of the pearls with everything. Tortorella's so hard on his players, and he's so gruff. And the decisions he makes, oh my gosh. It's like so soft. It's embarrassingly soft. Charmin soft. If Nick Sirianni hates the media in this town, I think part of it's earned.
And he probably does. So.
And there's a lot of people who take a lot of personal shots at him. And I think that is a problem.
So what he should do is just talk less during press conferences.
Right. Just do his job. And the thing is, here's all things that I honestly believe is like where Jalen Hurts gets talked about I think Jalen Hurts gets talked about in this town by his defenders as if he's a second-year quarterback, not a fifth-year quarterback.
Correct.
Or a third-year quarterback. It's always this, well, he's young. Nah, he's not. He's a fifth-year NFL player, a fourth-year starter with one of the biggest contracts in the game. I think with Nick Sirianni, he's had plenty of time on the job to have gone, you know what I'm going to do this offseason? Much like Johan Rojas is going to spend the offseason down in Clearwater. I think that Nick Sirianni should spend it with media training during an offseason. And I don't understand how it hasn't happened. Because it would make his life better.
It would probably make his life better.
It really would.
Because let's face it, full disclosure, we like when he says dumb things.
Right, we do.
We like when he does dumb things on the sideline, not necessarily as Eagles fans.
Yeah, I don't like what he did last week because I think he was so distracted by listening to what people are barking in the stands.
Correct.
Like that he fell asleep at the wheel and didn't call a timeout before halftime. That really did end up costing them.
But then, from a job standpoint, we had plenty to talk about for 2 days.
We did,
right?
exactly. And we're selfish bastards.
And so he's doing that, not for us, but he's doing that, and we then get to benefit from it. As an Eagles fan, I myself don't want to benefit from it.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
Like, listen, this job pays the bills, but at the same time, I'm an Eagles fan.
I find myself personally rooting for this guy right now more.
I'm not.
I
No,
am.
I'm not
I do.
either.
No, I do. I got to tell you, I do, because I just feel
I'm
like
rooting for him less.
I feel like, and the thing is, I know the Eagles PR staff are good people, and there's a lot of good people in that building, but I do believe they have failed him. I do believe they failed him.
Or he did it
Whether
to
he's not,
himself.
yeah, but
What is a PR? A PR guy's not going to keep him from yelling at Eagles fans. Big Dom's
I gotta
supposed
tell
to
you,
do that.
Ted Cruz is one of the best PR guys in the entire NFL. I knew Ted coming up through the ranks, and
Oh, you're talking about the
was
actor.
Ted Cruz.
The actor?
And he is the VP of communications
Ted
for Andy
Cruz? Oh.
for Andy Reid.
Not the actor.
And
Tom Cruise.
in
Tom
Kansas
Cruise,
City.
thank you. I don't watch movies.
John, make your point because we're all.
And Ted is one of the best. And he got Andy Reid. And when he went to Kansas City, and he helped it. Andy Reid is so much better with the media. He's so much better with handling the press and handling things, because I think he got an absolute pro that got under the hood with him, and Andy was willing to work with him.
Okay.
Now, I will say it's easier to deal with
In
the
Kansas
media
City.
when you're going for, well, yes, but also when you're going for a three-peat.
Yeah,
Oh, it is. No,
that's
but the
true.
thing is, I'm talking about from when he arrived. I can tell you, he worked with Ted, and he was open to it. And Ted's made him better as a head man, the guy in charge. He's made him more competent at his job. And as far as being able to handle that, because he was terrible with the media here a lot of times.
Yeah, of course.
And I think he got tired of it. Now, it also helps, too, when you have like 3 newspapers writing and like maybe 8 outlets
Yeah. You got a lot going on here.
on a day, except when the national people come in.
All right, what do we have on the text line today, Connor? Again, our main topic today, do you evaluate the Eagles by watching them, or do you compare them to other teams? I compared them to other teams last year, more so, I believe, as a defense mechanism, when I realized the Eagles weren't the 10-1 team that the record would tell you that they were. Now this year, they're 3-2. They got issues. Other teams have issues, but instead of me worrying about other teams' issues, I want the Eagles to figure their crap out. What do we have on the text line?
Edwin from Philly says, I believe with not just football, but with any sport that you always have to look at who they're competing against and how they measure up to said teams. If you believe you have the best team, you have to look at the competition to have an idea of where they stand in said sport. Same if you believe you have the worst team.
I like that thought process.
What do you if you have a middle of the road team?
Then you look at everything.
Which is what
Well,
the
it's like I said to you, is that consume the Eagles one way, consume the Sixers and the Eagles one way, Phillies one way, but the Flyers don't consume that way. The Flyers shouldn't. No Flyer fan should be concerned about what the rest of the league looks like. Just what do they look like,
right.
and how do they perform? They're not competing for anything right now, but just trying to come together with a group of players. I find that a very fun process too.
Yeah.
I mean, the first year of Wentz was one of the most enjoyable years that I've ever had as a football fan.
because you didn't have expectations for wins and losses.
And the surprise moments and the breakout things.
The
And
problem is we have expectations for 12 wins this year.
Yep.
And they're 3-2, and it hasn't looked great in any of the games.
No, it has not.
All right, coming up next, we'll get to more of your text messages. Also, real quick, we'll mention this. There was a decision made with an NFL team, not the Eagles, yesterday.
Uh-oh.
And I'm just curious how we would react to it here if we were the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, the Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
There won't be any dumbass hot takes here. Philly fans deserve better than...
on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. There he is. I was kind of worried about you.
I think you had to go to the bathroom.
It was potty time for Mr. Thomas.
Everybody.
All right, bro. The whole Delaware Valley doesn't need to know.
It's all right. Everybody
Look,
potties. There's a song that we sing for Cooper. Everybody potties.
You have to get Prudence. You have to watch the video of Prudence.
Oh,
too.
he's told me about Prudence.
Prudence
yeah.
teaches you to potty too.
I know.
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch one day when Connor has to go through all these processes
Don't
Yeah,
hold
right.
your breath.
Yeah.
in big boy world. Oh no, you're
One
gonna
day, Connor. One day.
Hey, they make adult diapers.
be a great dad.
Oh, you're talking
We'll
about
get to some text messages coming up in a few minutes, but did you see what the Steelers decided to do yesterday?
I did.
I haven't seen this.
Russell Wilson will be
Well,
starting.
it looks like it. It looks
He's
like
taking
it.
first team reps.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about something different.
No, but it does. It looks like he's going to be the starter coming up against the Jets on Sunday.
So, look, well, you know how I feel about Justin Fields. I think he's a talented guy. I don't think he's the best quarterback. But if I'm comparing him to Russell Wilson, I don't. Like,
I'm shocked.
You know,
If-
Russell Wilson's kind of cooked at this point.
If you've watched the 6 games this year,
Mm-hmm.
again, this is almost like there is absolutely no doubt that Justin Fields with a competent organization looks like a different quarterback. Now, is he going to be a spectacular, I don't know, Mahomes level type of
No,
guy?
not even close.
No.
I will
But
tell
if
you
you're
right now,
talking
Justin,
about-
I can feel comfortable saying this right now. Justin Fields will never be the starting quarterback of a Super Bowl team.
But if you talk about being a guy who is better than Russell Wilson, I believe it 100%.
So how would we react? Let's just pretend the Steelers organization is the Eagles. We love the backup quarterback in this town.
Oh my
right?
gosh! And
But-
remember, I'm still pissed that we paid more for Kenny Pickett.
I know you are.
I'm still pissed that we did not do this Justin Fields investment.
Well, obviously you have the extra year of control with Pickett, which
I got
which
you.
was probably
Yeah,
the biggest deal.
Okay, 2 years of if someone says to me, you can have a 1-year lease on a really, really competent car that'll get you everywhere you need to go, or you can have a 2-year lease on a car that, it's probably going to break down the side of the road. I don't want the 2-year lease.
The competent guy is getting unfairly maybe benched.
Oh my gosh.
So how would we react? Because let's face it, Russell Wilson, it's not like it's a lock that he's good. There's concerns with Russell Wilson if you're a Steelers fan.
He's first of all he's not liked
Well,
by
yeah.
teammates. Even when he was winning when he won the Super Bowl, he wasn't liked.
So
by his
Justin
teammates.
Fields, they're 4-2 with him as the quarterback so far this season. A lot of it has to do with the defense, but again, he hasn't led to them losing football games. Russell Wilson lost games in Denver. Like, he was horrible. How would we react if the same scenario was playing out in Philadelphia? You had a quote-unquote starting quarterback who nobody was really that confident in, and then the backup quarterback starts you 4-2. How would we feel?
I think we'd be. I'm not even in Pittsburgh, and I'm losing my mind over this one.
Connor?
I'll make the argument on behalf of the organization. You could argue that the ceiling of the team is higher with Russell Wilson if he plays up to the player you believe him to be. There's more of a track record there. There's more of a resume there, significantly so. Now, I personally think Russell Wilson stinks, and this would bother the hell out of me if you were benching a guy that started you 4-2 with the pedigree Justin Fields has and believing that he could be that guy for that team. But I kind of understand from the financial commitment, and it's not as heavy as what Denver made, but that to Russell Wilson and who you brought him in there to be.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Fields may have an option. I forget what his contract is, but Russell
Well,
Wilson.
no, Fields, you're going to have to go the fit.
Right.
You have to commit to the
Fifth year first round option.
Russell Wilson is a free agent after the season, so it's not like he's tied to Pittsburgh.
That's fair.
So, if anything, I'd rather see if the young, because Russell Wilson, he's 36 years old. So, like, it's not like they're going to give him this monster contract after this, right? I would rather, I think, at this point say, all right, maybe the former first-round pick in Justin Fields can do something differently with us. And a 4-2 start's a 4-2 start. Do I think Justin Fields, in my own heart, is the championship quarterback? I don't. But at this stage of Russell Wilson's career, I don't think that's the case either.
I hear the same things about, and I honestly, I don't think it's slander on Justin Fields. But I hear the same stuff that when I hear people talk about Justin Fields, talking about Baker Mayfield. And I roll my eyes because quarterback play, we're not judging quarterback play against maybe a more golden era.
Correct.
We're talking about today's NFL.
Right.
And if you can find a solid game manager who doesn't make mistakes, a guy like Fields right now who's completing 67% of his passes, who's not turning the ball over, who's not one turnover in 6 games, you can live with it. Now, if you ever have a chance to upgrade that to something greater.
Right. And is Russell Wilson an upgrade?
Not that. Russell Wilson's not that upgrade, and he hasn't been.
I think we would lose our freaking minds.
I think I would. I'm telling you this. I'd have to be sedated because this is just. I'm pissed, and I'm not a Steelers fan, and I'm like going. And I promise you this: Justin Fields is a more popular teammate than Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's never been a popular teammate.
Right.
He wasn't in Seattle when he was winning. He wasn't in Denver. His Denver teammates couldn't stand him from day one. Mark Schlereth came on this radio show and talked to us about it, that he said he demanded an office. He had an office.
All of
in
that's
Denver.
true. And
he's not popular.
We all agree on the player, but he's got something on one of his fingers that very few quarterbacks have.
And that was, if I'm not mistaken, 13 years ago.
It absolutely was. But the question is, like, do the guys in the building feel like Justin Fields is surviving? And do you believe you have a higher ceiling potentially with Russell Wilson? This is only a move you make if you're the Steelers, if you believe you're a contender.
Or do you believe that, well, the thing is, here's what's a problem. The Steelers and I had to look it up during the break. Steelers preseason over-under number was 8.5.
They're already
wins.
at 4.
They're already at 4. Yeah. They are overachieving with a guy who is doing everything that you asked him to do. Don't turn the ball over. Be an efficient passer. 67% passer. Do the things. Do things with your feet, but don't be running all the time. Try to stay in the pocket, and if not, just throw it away. He's doing all the things to make this team a contender. They're halfway.
Yeah. Like, look, if the situation was Justin Fields, but Tom Brady in his prime's coming back, but this is Russell Wilson,
Russell
who's
Wilson
been bad for half a decade now,
and he's a certifiable kook.
Yes, he is.
He's a kook, and I think this is Connor, the Pittsburgh Steelers saying, we traded assets to get Russell Wilson. Let's give him a shot.
Largely, but I also think if you live outside of the NFL meme world of like Russell Wilson's this weirdo, I think it's a closer decision that we make when we look at the makeup of the player.
You're a weirdo.
He is a weirdo. All right, coming up next, we reset the show. We have today's headlines with Connor Thomas at 8:05. And I have a question for you guys that I did not want to think was a legit question. But the more I've thought about it, it's pretty legit. And, John, you first put it in my head yesterday, so this is your fault.
I love that.
At 8:10, we're going to discuss this question. Are the Eagles a lock to make the playoffs? It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
listening again.
Text the word FUN, F-U-N, to 45911 or enter on the Fanatic app or 975thefanatic.com. You have 15 minutes. One random entry wins $1,000 in this company-wide contest. Again, keyword FUN. Winners will get a call from Beasley, so be sure to answer your phone. Complete rules at 975thefanatic.com. It's all sponsored by Rand Spear, the accident lawyer. Good luck.
Coming up at 10, Mike Missanelli. This is Philadelphia Sports Talk with Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
At 8:10, we get into a discussion, and you can all blame John Kincade for it because he put something in my brain, and it was a dark thought. And then I saw something yesterday that reminded me of what you put into my brain, John. And it was not some chip.
Okay.
It was just a thought about the Eagles and whether or not they're a lock to make the playoffs. So we'll discuss that coming up at 8:10. We have today's headlines with Connor Thomas at 8:05. Connor, hit us up with somebody from the text line. Our main topic today. When you evaluate the Eagles, do you evaluate them on their own or do you compare them to other teams? I usually compare them to other teams, but I did that last year, I believe, as a defense mechanism. And instead of me saying, hey, the Eagles have issues, but so does this team and that team and the other team, I'd rather the Eagles just figure their own crap out without me having to point out flaws of other teams. What do we got?
Blaine in Kentucky checks in and
Hello,
says,
Blaine.
the Eagles have been disappointing, but I see much room for improvement with the talent they have. So only then do I look at the competition to see how much improvement we need. And with there not being much disparity in the league, minus Lions and KC, I then think, well, if they can iron out the kinks and tap into that talent, there's no reason they shouldn't be making a late playoff run at the league.
Now,
So
here's
he's
the
looking
thing.
at it as a measuring stick.
Yes.
Okay.
But here's the thing. He says there's only, the two teams are Detroit and Kansas City.
He's out of his mind.
The San Francisco 49ers are 3-3 because of the injuries that they have been sustaining all season long. Their best player has not played a game, has not played it down. Obviously, the Eagles, the Tampa Bay game, they were missing their two best receivers, which is a big loss, and their right tackle. But the Eagles' other loss and the 3 wins where they weren't great wins, Packers game was pretty good, had nothing to do with injuries. The San Francisco 49ers are 3-3 because of injuries.
That's
Once
the only
they get
reason
once
they
they
are.
get healthy, they should be one of those teams that Blaine in Kentucky just texted about.
That's why everybody has to be a big Chiefs fan this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Chiefs 49ers, Super Bowl rematch. It has got to go. We want this one. You want this one to go your way if you're thinking that the Eagles are going to fix their own trouble.
Right.
You want another loss for the
That's why
49ers.
we rooted for Seattle last week, despite them being 3-2.
Yes.
They would have been 4-2 if they won a football game. But I don't believe in Seattle.
Right.
I wanted San Fran to fall to 2-4, but instead they're 3-3. So yeah, we are rooting for the Chiefs this weekend. We have to.
Yeah, I remember I told Adam Schefter, he disagreed with me. But when it was a few weeks ago, it was Commanders, Vikings, Seahawks, and Buccaneers. And I said, I'm not sure that that's going to be the standings, that I believe in any of those standings. I think none of them might win. And I still will hold to that.
All
I
right.
don't think any of them will win.
Let's hope so, especially for that Commanders team.
Oh, it's
because
big.
That
Yeah,
means
that's
the
it.
Eagles
Uh-huh.
would be the team that jumps them.
Yeah.
All right, it's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Hello, Connor.
Hello, boys.
Hello,
So,
Newman.
I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but there's a situation Sunday, 1 p.m. at MetLife Stadium, where there's this player that used to play for the Giants that now plays for the Eagles. His name is Saquon Barkley. He's a pretty good football player. And there was a conversation that we kind of touched on yesterday about the reaction up there. But Saquon talked about the reaction that he may get from Giants fans yesterday when he had his media availability. Here's what he had to say.
Do you have an expectation what the fans want to do?
I mean, I guess I said I don't expect to get booed, and I was meaning more of like this rivalry is so much bigger than what happened in the offseason between me and the Giants or Hard Knocks. Like this has been going on for a very long time. So,
How much do you think Saquon's thinking about the response that he's going to get up there in New York? Like, do you actually believe him just focusing on the game?
I think once the game starts, he's locked in. But clearly, he's thinking about it, or he's being made to
it's
think of
gotta
it because he's he's being asked about it.
What was that?
Thank you. I think he's gonna hear boos. Remember when Reese Hoskins said, "Yeah, I expect to get booed when I return to Philadelphia"? And it's like, dude, you're dumb. Like you're not gonna get booed when you come back to Philadelphia, especially because he went to Milwaukee. It's not like you picked the Mets.
Yes.
It's not like he picked Atlanta. Saquon signed with the Eagles. He's signed with the division rival. It might not be 100% booze, but there's going to be, I imagine, a decent reaction, negative reaction from Giants fans on Sunday.
We do know that there will be no video tribute.
Oh, you do know that?
Correct. Giants will do nothing to acknowledge him except announcing his name if he's in the starting lineup. The Giants have zero plans for any kind of acknowledgement of him returning.
Well, it's because it's a division rival.
Yeah, you can't. No, you can't. It's not a hockey game. It's
Right.
not. It's an NFL game.
Right.
They're not going to
exactly.
go in the middle of the first quarter of the game. Saquon's got bust out 3. He's got 41
And welcome
yards.
back, Saquon Barkley.
Everybody, Giant fans, give it up for Saquon Barkley. They're not doing. It's a corny thing that they ever do it in sports.
Right, I hate it.
Let alone now a pregame thing I could get.
I
Absolutely.
hate the tribute.
But the
videos.
Giants
I
had
love
no.
the tribute videos.
Did you like it when Ben Simmons got one?
No, but I like the idea of them. If a player's played
Do
somewhere,
you like
and
it when the
deserves
Flyers' fourth line winger gets
Oh,
one?
my
Okay, if you're
gosh.
just gonna pick the worst examples, then no, I don't like
Well, no.
it. But there are players that deserve it.
Yeah, okay, you're right. Like LeBron, when he first went back to Cleveland, probably deserved a tribute video, right? But that's LeBron. There's teams that do it for everybody, and I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, there has to be some line of discretion, but I mean, I think Saquon Barkley has been good enough for them that he did deserve something. But John's point about NFL games is right. There's just not really a great time to do it.
Especially if Saquon gets fed the ball early and has success.
Which is what we hope is going to happen.
Let's cancel that
hope
video
it.
tribute.
What
All
else
right,
we
boys,
got?
you want to talk a little hardball?
Yes.
We have some award nominees to go through. So this came out a couple days ago, but we haven't discussed it yet. The Rawlings Gold Glove finalists have been announced for baseball, both National League and American League, and the Phillies have 4 nominees.
Harper.
Well, hang on. We'll run
Stott.
through them one at a time. Don't get too ahead of it.
I'm trying to guess.
Okay.
Because I didn't see.
Oh, you haven't?
no.
I didn't see either.
Harper and Stott, yes.
Okay. I imagine at least one, if not 2 pitchers.
1 pitcher.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Is JT still getting nominations?
JT is not.
I didn't think so. Then
JT can.
who is it?
We'll talk about it when we get through. But
Okay.
do you think Wheeler is the defending Gold Glove winner, National League pitcher-wise?
He'll get it.
I think so as well.
Sure.
Do you think Harper has a good chance at first base?
I think he has a chance.
A chance, sure.
I thought-
The fact that he's in the discussion to me is very That's
It's amazing.
It's amazing,
outstanding.
right?
That's
And
outstanding.
Stott at second base. That's
just-
the one where I'm like, I don't think he will.
I think Stott's more deserving than Harper.
Yeah.
Stott at second. Stott is a better second baseman than Harper is a first baseman.
I think Wheeler has the clear best chance.
Yes.
I think Harper and Stott, it's nice to see them nominated. And then this fourth guy, I'm going to be owed an apology. Because in left field, your Gold Glove nominee from the Philadelphia Phillies is Brandon Marsh.
Oh, my gosh.
He
Why
is
do we
a
have to-
Gold Glove nominee.
Why do we have to apologize?
Because I fought tooth and nail with the guy to your left saying he's an above-average defensive
at
player.
left
When he was
field.
center fielder.
At left
We
field.
loved him as a left fielder. Center fielder is when the argument was. Center fielder was him and Rojas blows him away.
It was last season.
Blows
And
him away.
Last season, we got in a big-time argument when he was playing left field about his ability to be out there because I called him an above-average defender, and you said he's average at best.
I think he's an average defender, and I think we saw that this year. I can't believe it.
He's a Gold
that
Glove
there.
nominee.
Yeah. Thank God they found a place other than center for him.
Okay, well,
Because
my
he certainly
point is,
isn't that.
Can we all say that Brandon Marsh is an above-average defensive outfielder? Can we all make that statement now that
above
he's
average
one of
left fielder.
An
a
above average
defensive
left
outfielder?
fielder. Hide the worst player on your team. Defensively. Hide him. That's what teams
Hang
do.
on. You're saying
Pat Burrell, Greg Luzinski.
Whoa,
that's
no.
what you do.
slow down.
No,
You
Brandon
just called him
Marsh's
the
not-
worst defensive player on your
No,
team?
I'm saying is where do teams put their worst defensive player?
All over the place. It's
No,
the major
left-
leagues. It's not
left
limited,
field.
John.
Left field. They're not usually right field.
No,
Left
I've,
field.
I've seen bad third baseman. I've seen
No.
bad 1st
You're
baseman.
in the outfield. We're talking outfield. You never do it in center, and right is not. It's left
Well,
field.
right, you need the strongest
left fielder. Left fielder is where you will usually find the Kyle Schwarbers of the world, players that are not good defensively.
Yeah, but it doesn't
They
mean
hide them.
that all
It doesn't
left
mean-
fielders
right.
stink.
Yeah.
There's not. If I don't know.
It doesn't mean that all left fielders stink.
No, it is the worst fielding. It's where the worst
All
fielding
right, who do you
positions
think's a
are.
better fielder, Nick Castellanos or Brandon Marsh?
I think Nick Castellanos has done a great job.
Who do you think's a better outfielder?
I think Nick Castellanos.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy.
No, I've watched him perform at a high level.
Well, the guys who give out Gold Gloves say you're absolutely incorrect.
Yeah,
so I'll take my victory lap now, and if I'm not going to get an apology, then I'll just have my own party for myself. Brandon Marsh, good defensive outfielder. You heard it here first. Thank you. Let's move on to the replay of today's show.
What can the Eagles do differently to look like that football team we expected them to be?
And that's a simple question, but John and I didn't really get into it. We did the first one. That's fine. That's what headlines is for, baby. Honestly, you know what? I think something that we haven't really talked about, and the trade deadline comes up on November 5th, is what they can do to get better outside the organization, what they can add. They made a big-time move last year ahead of the trade deadline with Kevin Byard. So I know it didn't work out.
It was supposed to, it looked good.
But that was a big-time name that they brought in. And even though it didn't play, do you guys expect them to make like a big-time move ahead of the trade deadline?
No, you already wasted a third-round pick and got fleeced by the commodes.
Now, I'll ask this.
You got fleeced.
So, what are the positions where you would want to make a trade for?
Edge rusher.
Edge rusher. Okay. You just invested a lot of money into Bryce Huff.
Okay.
So, if you're going to get an edge rusher at the trade deadline, it would probably be a guy on an expiring contract. You're not going to go get a guy that has years left under control when you just invested all that money in Bryce Huff. Linebacker?
Could be.
You know, you haven't really invested in linebacker, so I guess that you could do something like that. They're not going to do it anywhere on offense.
How about safety?
Well,
I don't know that you
just invested in Chauncey. You're getting Sidney Brown back.
Right, I know.
And a lot of people like Reed Blankenship.
No. I like Reed Blankenship.
You can like guys as much as you want. Andrew, with baseball, you're Mr. Improve everywhere you can.
I don't think that's
but you have prospects to give up.
By the way, safety is not an area that has been exploited through 5 games.
No, I know. I'm just
linebacker.
I'm worried linebacker has been.
Nakobe Dean is. It's not been so egregious, but Nakobe Dean has not been great.
I can't believe you gave up a third-round pick for Jahan Dotson, who, by the way, I did applaud when the trade was made.
Yeah, me too.
But when you in retrospect, you go, oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper.
Well,
Amari Cooper.
I got a lot more money for Amari Cooper too.
Yeah, but you're not a long-term investment.
Correct.
And you would have had to wait. Like as soon as AJ goes down, then you don't have it. I know Dotson wasn't productive in those games without
at least
AJ,
you had him, right?
It's someone to think about.
All right. So thank you, Connor.
You're
Great
welcome.
job as always. We'll get back to the text line coming up in a little bit, and I imagine we will get a lot of texts on this question that we will definitely get responses to in the next segment. Yesterday, John said something in passing. It was off air. I don't even think we were on air. And you kind of mentioned like the playoff picture.
Yes, because I obsess about it with my spreadsheets.
It's very early, right? We're
way early.
We're 6 weeks into the NFL season. We're a third of the way through. But you also know how the NFL goes. It's also, oh my God, we're already entering week 7. Like I can't believe we're already going to week 7 in the NFL. It's flying by. The Eagles, as of today, if the season were to end, are not a playoff team.
No. And every wild card team is 4-1, 4-1 in the conference, Lions. 4-2, 4-1 in the conference, Buccaneers, with a head-to-head win against you. 4-2, 2-2 with the Packers, who you beat head-to-head.
Right. So
it's not by the way, the 2 seed you've already lost to. You got to take care of the Commanders. You got to beat them, I guess, twice. There's an argument to be made that you've got to win the division.
Right. And then I see this tweet. Now, I don't buy these things, especially this early on this season. All right, so I want to make it clear. I'm not looking at this data as gospel by any means, because if they win on Sunday, all of these percentages change with a snap of a finger, right? But this company called The Sports Line did the percentage breakdown of each team to make the playoffs in each conference. According to their analysis, the Eagles have a 34% chance of making the playoffs, which is 10th in the NFC.
They're basing that on
it's record, strength of schedule, the rest of the way.
What these other teams have already done.
Correct.
Like, where they're sitting.
Like the Eagles don't play certain teams in the NFC during the regular season, but they have a strength of schedule that may be different from what we expected going into the season. The Eagles, again, remember, before the season started, we said, oh, you could probably beat the Commanders twice. We don't know that anymore through 6 weeks of the NFL season.
I heard Mike say the other day, Mike Missanelli was like, well, if the Eagles win the next 3, they'll be in first place. The next 3 for the Commanders, who are sitting at 4-2. They have the Panthers at home. They have the Bears at home.
That's the game that got flexed.
And they're at the Giants.
Yeah, they could very well win the next 3.
They could be 7-2.
Right.
And the Eagles, no matter what they do, will not be in first place. They'd be 6-2. I think it's that we're people, if you're sleeping on, and I thought it in the summer, but I didn't think 10-win Commanders.
Right. You just thought that they would be a hard team to face.
I'm not getting chesty here, but I saw them come. I didn't see them coming this fast.
Right. So
they have an easy schedule. They've got Panthers. They've got Bears. They've got another Giants game. They have a Titans game. They have a Saints game. Like, the Commanders have 5 games they should win the rest of the way. And then a bunch of them that they could. They have 2 with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
A split there. That's 10 wins.
Split with Philadelphia.
That's 11 wins.
So,
I'm telling you right now, it's dangerous right now. You need the Commanders to start to turn into the pumpkin.
Yeah, like remember how the Eagles were 3-0 Carson Wentz's first year, and then the youth clearly became a factor, and then they start falling apart. They finished 7-9 that season. Are the Eagles a lock to make the playoffs?
No.
And that
Not yet.
That sucks.
Not yet. Now, the thing is,
we're only 6 weeks into this
Here's
season.
what I'm going to tell you, too, though. Beat the Giants, beat the Bengals, beat the Jaguars, and you're 6-2, I will then tell you, yes, they are a lock.
Right.
Because they end the season, they would have told me that they got out of their funk, and at the end of the season, they've got Panthers, Steelers at home, at the Commanders, Cowboys at home, Giants at home.
But I will say they have done nothing so far for me to put a crisp $20 bill. Like that other day, you had the crispest $10 bill I've ever seen.
Bills. Yeah, they're good.
They have not done enough this year for me to say, well, they are going to win the next 3 games.
They're crispy, aren't they?
That's a crispy 10.
No, they haven't done that.
Feel it.
Not even
it's
close.
Crispy. It really is. Isn't it crispy? Oh, my God.
If you're saying this team's a lock for anything, I think you're crazy after what happened last year and what we've seen from the team this year. They're a roller coaster, and we don't know what's going to happen with them.
But, I didn't think – I think yesterday I said, look, they're still going to make the playoffs. But then John said that off the air, and then I read that again. It's a statistic that I don't necessarily buy into. But when I see the Eagles have the 10th percentage odds to make the playoffs this year, I go, what?
Yeah, but that changes week to week, and they're down a game on a lot of teams because of the early bye. Here's what I'll ask you, right? Are the Washington Commanders a 12?
Well, they take the buys and everybody else's. It's statistics.
I got you, but
percentages.
Yes, but when we look at it, I think we're harder on this team because of the wins some teams have. Are the Commanders a 12-win football team?
I don't think so.
John?
Right now, no.
Okay.
Right now, but what I would tell you is that if I had to bet an over-under on 9.5, I'm betting over.
And then the other question is, are the Eagles a 12-win football team?
If no team in the division is going to win more than 11 games, and you still have a pretty clean look at 11 because of the easiness of your schedule,
right?
The bigger games are divisional, but if you have that tiebreaker, you're going to win the division still. So I'm not saying it's a lock, but I'm not saying it's like an outside chance, like 10%.
Sure. All right, so I want your reaction on this next. We'll reset our main topic, but we just opened this one up. Are the Eagles a lock to make the playoffs? I can't believe I'm asking it, but it's a legitimate question.
After last year, it's absolutely legit.
After last year, after 5 games this year. 610-632-0975, the number to climb it or text in. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Big injuries for the Birds. I'm Connor Thomas.
on this Thursday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic. All right, so are the Eagles a lock to make the playoffs? I can't believe I'm asking the question, but you put it in my brain yesterday that there is one division right now that has 4 teams with at least 4 wins.
4 teams, that are ahead of the Eagles.
Yeah.
All 4. Now, I don't believe that will hold. And as I said yesterday, boldly and beautifully, that the Vikings will finish in last place, even though they're 5-0. And Connor's family now just, totally hates me.
Now, is that last place a better record than the Eagles?
No, it won't be.
Okay, I sure hope so.
They're going to fall apart.
All right, so I want to hear from people on this. It's 610-632-0975. I know it's early, and I don't believe in this percentage crap, right? Like, the Eagles have a 34% chance. But when you see it, you go, oh. And they're taking into account schedule.
Yes.
It's not just the Eagles currently have this record, so if the season ended today. No, it's based off of record, based off of how things have played out so far. And, again, that could change in the next 2 weeks. The Eagles could all of a sudden have a 70% chance to make the playoffs in the next 2 weeks. But right now, if the season were to end today, they're on the outside looking in because there are some decent teams in the NFC that I think we didn't evaluate correctly before the season started.
I don't know how you could have seen it coming.
Let's go to Lewis in Pensauken. Lewis, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, good morning, fellas.
What's going on?
I see us making the playoffs this year. It's because one of the reasons is that Dallas and the Giants are just not good at all. So I can see at the worst 3-1 between with them going against them, and then I see at least 10, if not 11 wins. But the concerning issue is that my main concern is that I don't see it either what they're running for or whatever, but I don't see growth in Jalen Hurts' game. If you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying.
Are you putting that on Hurts, or are you putting that on what he's surrounded his coaches?
I don't know if y'all see it, but I don't see too much creativity in the schemes and in the plays, and I'm wondering, is it because you feel as though he can't run them that way?
Right, that's been the big talking point recently. Is Nick Sirianni meddling, or is it because there may be a cap to what Jalen Hurts can do? Because this is not what Kellen Moore has done in the past, and you could just tell by route trees.
And that's dangerous too, because if you're so different, if the coordinator's offensive mind is so much different than what Jalen Hurts is used to running, then that may be an issue as well. But here's what I'm saying. One thing about it though, I don't see the Giants or the Dallas Cowboys, but I think we need to stop underestimating the Commanders.
Absolutely, Lewis. I mean,
I'm not.
Yeah, John's kept an eye on them since before the season started.
Yeah, but I'm a big Jaden Daniels fan because I like LSU. Listen, that kid is in the gym. I mean, in the stadium at 4:00 in the morning every day. This kid is different. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, so is Jalen Hurts, Lewis, and we appreciate the call. I mean, we've heard that Jalen Hurts is the first one to get there and the last one to leave, right? How many times have we heard those stories? I don't know if Jaden Daniels being the first one there is why he's good. It probably helps. He might just be a talented quarterback. And, oh, by the way, there hasn't been tape out on him yet, so I'm sure there are teams. Like, I saw something the other day, John, and this will be interesting to keep an eye on as the season goes on. Not the Baltimore game, but the game before. The Browns game, right? That's
okay,
when they beat the Browns.
They dominated the Browns.
He threw the ball 25 times, I think. 21 throws were on the right side of the field within 10 yards.
Yep.
So at some point,
a book comes out.
Right, a defense will go, okay, so he's always going this way, or coaching it, or they're coaching it this way, so let's defend it this way. So at some point, you're going to see maybe him have a bad game or two, and then it's the chess game. What adjustment do they make? What adjustment does he make?
I love his skill set. I think he has every bit the ceiling. How about this? I think he has every bit the floor of being a Baker Mayfield. Every bit that floor.
Okay.
Could he be better? Yeah, he might be. And that could be a big problem for all of us.
It could be a big problem.
Big problem. I don't think any one of us are underestimating the Commanders now. Even though it's funny because I have somebody here on social media telling me, so you trash the Vikings and you're all over the Commanders.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm telling you right now, I'll take the Commanders over the Vikings.
Well, because you see a ceiling for Jaden Daniels and Sam Darnold, who knows? I mean, he might be a better quarterback now that he's not with the Jets, but
he could be.
He also might be throwing it up to Justin Jefferson. He's a freak of a receiver.
One guy's played like 5 years. One guy's played like 5 games.
That is the truth.
That's true. All right, what do we have on the text line, Connor? By the way, no Kevin Nagandi today. We might have him on tomorrow. I will let you guys know.
How is Kevin?
Okay. He's flying right now.
Oh, really? He's flying everywhere?
Yeah. Oh, man, he's got the big college game day. Well, not college game day, but the big college show.
Oh, yes, he does.
Busy man.
Popular guy. Let's go to Quinn in New Jersey, who says, you cannot with confidence say the Eagles are a lock to make the playoffs. With how our defense has been performing, for one, you got to stop teams to beat teams. The same thing can be said for the Commanders. Their defense isn't great either. But if we don't have, let me read the full, come on, boys. They text in for the full text. But if we don't have a better record than the Commanders and win the division, I don't see a path for us to the playoffs.
So I agree with him saying it would be crazy to call this team a lock to make the playoffs. I agree with that. Why is it the defense first?
Where is that coming from?
The offense needs to be better. The defense has not been a problem. You could say, I think ultimately the defense will be the downfall. If he said that, that's fine. But to say, yeah, you got to look at the defense. They got to make stops. They have been.
I'm fascinated by that.
Tampa was the one game they didn't make stops in, and it's because the offense went 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. So, of course, the defense was gassed. That confuses me.
Yeah, it really confuses me. That is, I'm not saying stop. How about this? Stop doubting the defense. I'm not saying buy in and say, man, this team is just an outstanding defensive club. But it's time to stop doubting them that they can put together a competent NFL defense. This isn't last year.
You don't have to buy stock, but you don't want to short them right
exactly.
now.
Yeah, that's a great.
I would say, don't expect the Eagles to keep the Saints, other teams to 12 points and 16 points, the Browns. But I see a defense that can now make a play here and there.
Yeah.
The Eagles' offense is the reason why you're only 3-2 this year.
I still believe if this team gives up 23 or less points, they should win the vast majority of the time. If this team gives up 23, they should be winning. But the offense isn't doing their job.
No.
They're not.
They're averaging 21 points a game.
Oh, I can't believe it.
18th in the NFL. That's bottom half.
By the way, they only need 105 points in the next 3 games to meet my 125-point challenge.
We'll offer you a cash out if you want. You're going to get very little back, but we might offer it to you. Let's go to Mike in Reading, who wants to get into this Eagles lock conversation, or if they're a lock to make the playoffs. What's up, Mike?
Hi, Mike.
How we doing, guys?
Good buddy. Thanks, man.
Look, I was saying to the producer, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but you look at the schedule. There's all right, let's say they lose both games to the Commanders and one more divisional game, and then they lose to the Ravens. That's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 losses.
You're saying lose both games to the Commanders?
Well, I mean,
they're not making the play. If that happens, they have zero chance to make the playoffs.
Let's say they're 3-3 in the division. Okay. Let's say that they lose to the Ravens. They lose to the
who?
I mean, every other game should be a win. They should beat the Steelers. They should beat the Panthers.
All right, let's just say they add 4 more losses to their schedule. So now they have 6 losses on the year.
They're home free. 11-6. 11-6. They're in.
We'll put it this way: Colin Cowher put up the stat that every team that hasn't scored in the first quarter of the first 5 games of the season, only one team has made the playoffs, and that's the 06 Jets.
Okay.
And then on top of it, I think Nick is showing the telltale signs of a guy who is on his way out, and that's it.
I'll hold off on that judgment, but I can understand why you.
Yeah, I totally get.
I can understand why you think.
And thanks for the call, Mike. And he mentions the first quarter thing. Now that can change.
It all can change.
That could change. So it's only one team ever that's made the playoffs when they haven't scored a touchdown in the first 5 weeks. Blah, blah.
By the way,
I can find statistics like that anywhere to make an argument. But they do have to get off the hotter starts because it's all right if you're getting blanked by the Browns in the first quarter, maybe the Falcons in the first quarter, even though they beat you, the Saints in the first quarter, who you beat them. But once you start playing teams with legitimate offenses, like you are fearful of that offense, being down 14-0 in a blink of an eye is not good. The perfect example is the Bucs game. They are lucky that the Packers did not score 2 touchdowns in the first quarter in the game in Brazil and only got 2 field goals after 2 turnovers by the Eagles. They're lucky it was not 14-0. If it's 14-0, they start the season 0-1. They're lucky that the defense did their job in that drive.
I think as easily as somebody could say you could have lost the Green Bay game, you easily could have won the Atlanta game.
No, I know.
If your coach does something smart, just hands the ball off, you win that game.
Our man Garrett checks in. He said, glass half full, team should be 4-1 while missing top 3 players for several games. Glass half empty, which John doesn't believe exists.
It doesn't.
Team has not scored a point in first quarter, looks lifeless most games, and is a few plays away from being 1-4.
Half of 0 is 0.
But he's right, though.
Yep.
You could make the 4-1 case.
No, you can make the 4-1
I can come
case.
right back with you and make the 1-4 case. All right, coming up next, we continue to get your reaction on this discussion about the Eagles and whether or not they're a lock playoff team. Speaking of the playoffs, I'm getting more and more annoyed with baseball. Well, the Phillies. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider update.
o'clock hour. Not going to spend too much time on it, but the ESPN Top 100 NBA Players list came out, Johnny. I know you're holding your breath. Holding your breath, waiting for it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, can't wait.
I will tell you where some of the players are for your Philadelphia 76ers. I imagine 3 of them would be in the top 100.
Is this the most likely to miss 100 games? Or is this trying to be honest?
Oh, man, you're going to get we haven't even started the season yet. You're get on my bad side.
Load management?
With my love and near and dearness of the Sixers.
If I'm not already on your load, on your bad side for that.
Man, it's
the one thing that we will absolutely have family squabbles.
I love them so much.
I know you do.
I just want them to love me back. I just want it so bad.
I want you know what it is?
Love me.
I want them to love you as much as you love them.
Please.
They don't, but it's okay.
Please love me.
They try.
And you know what? Trying's great. If I hear anything about standard, then I'm really going to be in trouble.
Please love me. All right, real quick, before we get back to the texts and the calls about our Eagles discussion, how do you evaluate the Eagles? Do you evaluate them on their own, or you compare them to other teams? And are they a lock to make the playoffs? After the scary thought that John put in my mind that I can't stop forgetting or thinking about, excuse me. But speaking of playoffs, the MLB playoffs are pissing me off.
Why? Because of the bad broadcasts?
No.
Okay.
Because the Yankees and Dodgers are 2 wins away from advancing. The Yankees and Dodgers, who also had a bye, right? The Yankees and Dodgers, who...
What do you mean a bye?
The bye. The first round bye.
Oh, I thought you meant that they bought players.
No, the first round bye.
I got you.
The Yankees did do that. So did the Dodgers, but the Dodgers riddled with injuries.
Yes.
No excuses.
Great pitching that they're getting.
They keep on winning.
Yeah.
And it just bothers me more and more that the Phillies went out without a whimper. Yeah, I mean, they
didn't even whimper. That would take effort.
Whimper.
Yeah, it would have taken effort to whimper.
We remember when we talked about last week that there was a chance or 2 weeks ago, excuse me, that all 4 DS series could go 5 games.
And I told you no shot.
You said no shot. Well, the Phillies were the only series that didn't go 5 games.
Yep.
Every series went 5 games.
That's because you have to actually show guts and moxie to be able to.
And the Phillies didn't do that.
They didn't. They rolled over.
So I want to play you a clip because, I know people. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. There are people angry that Rob Thompson was not fired. Here's Bob Nightingale from USA Today, who does a tremendous job covering Major League Baseball. I think he was on with would have been Kevin Cooney last night because he normally joins Kevin. Here he is talking about how he's surprised nobody lost their job.
Yeah, I'm very surprised they didn't do something. I figured either Rob Thompson's gone, several of his coaches are gone. But usually when you have a quick exit like that, someone takes a fall. I mean, you saw Atlanta, fired Kevin Seitzer, their head coach. He's been there for 10 years. Houston Astros, just like Gary Pettis go. It seems like there's always fall guys. So, yeah, I'm very surprised. And I guess by doing this, Dave Dombrowski is saying, you know what, we don't think it's the coach's fault at all. We think it's the players. So now you got to think okay, who's going to go here? There's no way you're just going to run back the whole thing back again.
So
there you go. That's
they better not run it all back.
No, but they are. But it's the message the other day was we're happy. We're happy with where we're at. We're not happy the way this season ended, but we're real happy the way we're built.
Forget your own personal feelings of Rob Thompson's strategy, Kevin Long and the approach, Caleb Cotham, even though I don't think he should really be in anybody's bad graces right now. Are you surprised just straight up that nobody lost their job?
Yes.
I am too.
I'm not.
I wasn't asking for it, I'll be honest, but I am surprised that we didn't get the Phillies have parted ways with.
I'm floored.
Well, the comparison to the Braves firing their hitting coach is not fair because...
Why is that?
They have done what the Phillies just did this year, and the feeling that we have, they did it 2 years in a row, and then, I know injuries and everything, we're the 6th seed and went out immediately without winning a game. And that's injuries this year. But could you imagine if the Phillies made the playoffs again next year and lost in the divisional series after winning the division? And then they had a year where they went backwards even further. It's not a fair comparison because they're further into this than the Phillies
I will
are.
say this. The Braves hitting coach losing his job after last year, 2 seasons ago, 2023, they all had historic numbers.
They did.
That's kind of wild.
They did. He had
That's kind of wild,
his team's,
actually.
Kevin Seitzer's approach at the plate for his batters, which, by the way, I was there when Seitzer arrived. Seitzer changed the entire mentality of the organization, and then it was taught at every level down what they expected.
Yeah.
The Braves' approach at the plate, ridiculous compared to the Phillies.
All right.
I mean, it's incompetence.
Yeah.
What we have.
All right, give us a text, Connor, on our Eagles discussions today.
Okay, so we have a bunch of people checking in on the evaluating the teams. I have one from VT Ron, but he's on hold right now, so we'll go to a different one. And we got to check in here to say, of course, I judge them by other teams, but we never look as crisp as some teams, and we never look as bad as others. We're always on this emotional roller coaster. Oddly enough, the one season that we looked better than any team was that season Wentz played his behind off and helped us get to the Super Bowl, and you win it with Nick Foles. That season we looked unstoppable. Do we judge every team since then by that having to look unstoppable margin?
I mean, look, 2022, they looked unstoppable, and they got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they looked unstoppable. 2022, they by the way, it was 5 fourth quarters off.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Do the Eagles look like a unstoppable football team right now?
Absolutely not.
They've shown to be very stoppable.
Do they look like a competent football team right now?
At times, somewhat.
Do they look like a playoff team?
Yes.
No.
I think they look like a fringe
think they
playoff team.
I don't.
Do they look like a team that's going to make noise in the playoffs?
No.
And that's got to change soon. 610-632-0975. We reset the show coming up next. Also, an article from Fox that ranked the 7 coaches that are on the hot seat. You'll find out where Sirianni is and what they said about him. He is indeed on the list, but is he toward the top or toward the bottom? You'll find out next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Flyers round out their West Coast road trip.
give a little shout-out to, I know the people are listening. Met a lot of fine people yesterday out at Indian Valley Country Club.
Nice.
Out in Telford. And they want to have us out in the spring, so be ready to go.
What do they want me to destroy their golf course?
I was going to say, they better have a good grounds crew if they're going to bring Salciunas out there.
I want to thank Jared Nice and the fine, the mastermind of Landis Block and his buddy Stevie Donato, and Eric Church, who were out there. And not Eric Church, the country music star. Had a great day yesterday and met a lot of listeners that are fans of the show. Many with constructive criticism for things that they like and don't like, and I appreciated it all.
I'm always open to it.
And it was good about that, what they like more of and what they like less of, and they like less of the. They like us when we're more talking about what the teams are actually accomplishing and less of the drama. And I said, well, when the drama gets less, we do less drama. We don't contrive it.
It's interesting. I wrote down. I have like a little notebook of topic ideas, right, that I think about at night. I couldn't sleep last night, so I was literally just jotting notes. And one of the topic ideas I was thinking about was, all right, you guys listen, and we know that.
And they do, yes.
So we also know that a lot of people listen more when there are storylines. So
would that be considered? Are you more thinking like when things are negative?
No, not when there's.
Or are you thinking more when there's a?
No, not when things are negative, because we have talked about this. The biggest lie.
That is a lie.
Is you guys like it when the teams lose because you get better ratings. I will tell you.
Not true.
A day after a loss rates better than a day after a win, but the Tuesday after a loss rates worse.
Yes.
Than a win.
People fall up. People want to be angry for a day, and then it's almost like they want to disconnect a little bit.
Right. But when there is a legitimate storyline, people want to listen or talk about it. So I was going to bring this up as a topic, and maybe we'll do it for another day. Do you like stress-free football where they're just winning football games, or do you like it when there's storylines? And storylines are normally, to those people's point, John, drama.
Yeah, and the one thing is you say stress-free football, and we really should give this more time and not derail it.
Yeah.
But it's just there are people who, I think in this town, stress winning. I think this town stresses winning as much as losing. Because when we win, I've never seen a sports fan bases that worry more about, we're really good.
Like the
other
Phillies
fan bases,
thing,
other fan bases get all chesty. This city gets fatalistic.
Yeah. Yeah, we like
we'll
being
get
the
into this.
underdogs.
We'll save this.
Well, Johnny, you did say earlier in the show about how the Flyers are the most enjoyable season for you right now because you're not really looking for anything.
No, I'm saying is that you can find with the Flyers is how you should evaluate them. The Flyers, you should not evaluate looking at the rest of the league. You should just look at the Flyers and evaluate them. Every other team in this town has championship aspirations. I believe you have to watch them in comparison to the rest of the league.
Comparison is the thief of joy, though.
Well, that is, according to Brendan Gunn, it is.
Yes. But apparently, I mean, look, there are people, like I know when the Sixers lost again, there were people that called in and said, I want them to blow it up. And it wasn't just because they didn't think that they were going to win. There are people that liked the process because of the lottery ball night, draft night, like those nights mattered. Whereas nowadays, like, okay, Jared McCain might be a bit of a player. We'll see how that
could be.
We'll see how that happens. But like, Jared Springer was a first-round pick, and they shipped him out of here. Like, late first-round picks don't always amount to much. People like playing armchair GM. People like when they're tanking and, oh, my God, look at this pick. Could we get this guy? Could we get that guy?
Ping pong balls can't tear an ACL.
There are people that do like that kind of stuff. So there are people, in my belief, that do like all this drama surrounding the Eagles. Ultimately, they want them to win, and they want them to win the Super Bowl. But I do believe 2 years ago, people may have been bored, despite them having the ridiculous record that they did.
I will tell you that I'm a hypocrite in something that I do as a fan, because I hate it when I hate fatalistic fan bases. Like, I don't like it. I don't participate in it. I don't consider myself to have common DNA with those folks. But when my team in the NFL or the NBA or the NHL is bad, I want them to be, once I realize the season is gone, any expectation, I want them to be epically bad. I don't want them to purposely lose.
Right.
But I'm saying at that point, my team loses, I am not in the least bit concerned because I've already written off my expectations for that season.
It's like the White Sox.
Like at that point, I'm going, okay, just make sure you're getting the number one pick.
Right.
Make sure there's something. Make sure that there's some pound of flesh that we're getting for the horrible year we're sitting through.
Right. Give us something to be excited about after this.
Exactly. And I do. It's funny is as a fan, I think Haley and I have had this conversation. One thing I do worry about is I hated what happened to the Flyers last year.
Right. Close, but
I hated that.
You're like, this isn't, I wouldn't call that necessarily hypocritical. That's smart. There's so many organizations in sports that live in purgatory forever.
Yes.
And they just never get better and never get worse. And they sell these BS, we might make the playoffs this year thanks to their fans. And they're just a perennial 500 or close to it team. And you're smart for not wanting that.
The part of me, though, is like, we're 3 games into a Flyers season. I'm incredibly intrigued and incredibly bought in, but I love the sport. But I sort of find myself going,
you're trying to temper your own excitement.
But do I want to be the 8th seed?
Have they won too many games? 6 wins?
No. But like,
hey, they haven't won. They've gotten points though.
No, they
won. They won the first right. Sorry,
they're 1-1-1.
They have 3 points.
Right. I find myself saying already in my head, I think I'd rather get a top 10 pick or a top 8 pick and have a really entertaining
than be an
young
8
team. Than be an 8
But then
seed.
I could say I want the young players to get the playoff experience. It's amazing.
And I guarantee you Keith Jones would tell me I was a moron.
All right.
He's told me that before, but I believe he would tell me I'm a moron.
So our main topics today, how do you evaluate the Eagles? Do you look at them by themselves or you compare them to other teams? And if you do compare them to other teams, where do you have them? And are the Eagles a lock to make the playoffs? John said this to me during one of the breaks yesterday. Man, there's a legitimate chance that the NFC North could send 3 teams to the playoffs, and you might need to win the division to make the playoffs. And I was like, whoa, scary. And then I saw that statistic from Sports Info that the Eagles have a 34% chance to make the playoffs this year, which is 10th in the NFC, not 10th in the league, in the NFC. And I know those percentages change left and right with 1 win, 1 loss, but still, when you see that stuff, you go, oh, my God, the 12-win team that I thought I was going to watch this year might not make the playoffs.
And I still think 12 wins is on the table. I really do.
It is.
I absolutely do. Not just because of my Bet Parks app. And I'm hoping to take some money out of the fine people in Ben Salem.
Yes.
But I still think it's on the table looking at it. But, boy, is this Sunday going to do a lot to drive my emotions.
All right, let's get a couple of texts and calls on this. 610-632-0975. I have this Fox Sports article. They ranked 7 coaches that could be on the hot seat. You'll find out where Sirianni is on this. And I'll give you the top 100 NBA players from 100 to 1. Just kidding. I'll tell you where some of the Sixers are, and we'll go through the top 10. But let's go to Deshaun in Philly. What's up, Deshaun? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How y'all doing today?
Good.
Good, man.
All right, so to answer your question, I'm going to say yes. And the reason I'm going to say yes is because we haven't fully seen this team healthy yet. The only game we've seen this team healthy was week 1, but we all know they didn't play as well because they didn't play during the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's fair to say no.
And they won that game. They won that
game.
Wait a minute, though. Game two, you were missing A.J. Brown.
Yeah, and I think that's our number one weapon on offense.
Like, every team in the NFL was missing a big player almost every week.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm going to tell you what the fate of this team rests on Hurts' shoulders. But here's my concern with Hurts. And I blame the coaches, and I'm going to tell you why. Because back in 2022, when we had Shane Steichen, I believe we ran an RPO offense. I think they're trying to make Hurts into a quarterback that he's not. They're trying to make him play a certain style that he can't play, which is make him a pass-first quarterback. And I don't think that's Hurts.
You think it's pass first, or you just think it's less RPO?
It's less RPO. And I think Hurts is a deer in the headlights when he's just standing in the pocket. So I think we need to rely more on our RPO and let Hurts make that decision, how we did in 2022.
Problem is that I think his decision-making has been terrible in the RPO game.
You think so?
I think he's hesitant. Last week I was more impressed. I liked it when but I think it was more design runs last week.
I'll say this, Sean. Thanks for the call.
Thank you, buddy.
So last year, I think the Bills. You remember how the 49ers?
I remember you saying it the Monday after that game.
The 49ers said they put out the blueprint. The Bills did.
And it was before the 49er game.
Yes.
That leading up to that week, you said it on air.
And look, they had the second half. They brought him back, and they won the football
I rolled
game.
my eyes when I heard you say it.
Sometimes
And
I know.
right.
Sometimes I know a thing or two. I'm a fake football guy, Johnny.
Yeah.
They just rushed right after Jalen Hurts because they did not respect DeAndre Swift or Kenneth Gainwell.
Yep.
So it was, all right, let's go right after Jalen. He's going to have to make our guy miss, and if he does, we'll see if he can make the throw. It got to the point where he wasn't making guys miss anymore because he was hampered by what we believe was some sort of injury that he himself said during this offseason, I told people to stop asking me about it. So clearly there was something going on.
Something was going on, yeah.
I thought this year, if they kept using the RPO with Saquon, defenses obviously have to respect Saquon Barkley and how he might get the ball. They are still running an RPO offense. Not every snap, but they're still doing it, and it doesn't seem to be the most effective offense in the world.
No. I don't like it because I always find it strange that somebody thinks, well, my quarterback's having decision-making problems. Let's run more RPO.
Yeah, let's add more to his plate.
I think the RPO is every bit as challenging to decide. And when there's any hesitation, and I think that there's been some with Jalen Hurts, that it confuses me that people want that. Jalen Hurts was the number one pocket passer in 2022 in the entire NFL. I know he can do that. Like I don't know that he can play under center. And I think that is something that deeply concerns me.
And that might be why you're not seeing certain things in
exactly.
the offense. Let's go to VT Ron. What's up, Ronnie?
My man, what's going on?
How you doing, brother? Great hearing from you.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is a great topic. I like that other topic, too, because it's ingrained in Philadelphia fans that agita is part of sport.
Sure is.
For another day, you got to do that. That's a great topic. Listen, I don't think this team is good enough right now to be a playoff contender. I really don't.
A playoff contender or a playoff? I don't understand.
Well, a playoff team.
Like you're talking about make the playoffs? Make the playoffs.
Making the playoffs, exactly. I don't know if they're good enough yet. Because, one, you go to the top. That's one end. The second thing is you have to give the Commanders their due because that team is playing good football. And on the other end of that, they always seem to play us hard and tough. You know, we've lost games to the Commanders or when they were another name. We've lost where we shouldn't have lost. And for some reason, that team always plays us tough. Secondly, I'm disappointed in Kellen Moore. Have you seen any motion? Where's the motion?
They had the least amount of motion, I believe, in the entire NFL last week.
Was he not brought in to put a motion-type offense in the system?
Well, and then that goes back to the main question. Is it Sirianni or is it Hurts?
Yeah, why do you think that isn't happening?
You just answered it. I think it's between Sirianni and Hurts.
But pick a side. Which one? Gut instinct.
I'm going to go Sirianni. Obviously.
That's my gut instinct.
Yeah, that is mine too, and it sucks.
Yeah,
you know, and hey, I'm heading to Blacksburg. I hope we get a win today. Hey, fellas, I'm glad I got a chance to talk to y'all. It's really great to listen to you, and hang in there and do all that.
You're the man, Ronnie. Ronnie, we appreciate it. Have a safe drive, man. Go Hokies.
Go Hokes.
Go Hokies. Enjoy yourself, man. By the way, something alarming.
Alarming.
That I just looked at.
What's that?
So remember how we said the Eagles are 18th in the NFL in points per game?
Yeah.
And let's face it, they need to score points in order to win. The defense won't hold teams to under 20 points week in and week out.
Okay.
18th.
Right.
How many teams 1 through 17 are in the NFC?
12.
Oh, no.
11. So they're the 12th team.
Wow.
So.
Okay, I didn't see that coming.
Of the top 18 points per game squads, the Eagles are 18th, but 12th in the NFC.
That's shocking. I wouldn't have seen that coming.
So, do I believe the Saints will still be in the top 5 in scoring offenses as the weeks go on? No, I do not. I expect them to drop. But the Lions are number 1 in the league, so number 1 in the NFC. The Bucs are number 2 in the league, so number 2 in the NFC. The Commanders are number 3 in the league, number 3 in the NFC. Saints are 5th all around. Vikings are 6th all around. Are the Vikings going to fall off anytime soon? Points per game? Okay.
Yeah, they will.
Packers.
Don't tell Connor's family.
Packers, I don't think, fall off. Niners are still averaging 27 points per game despite not having Christian McCaffrey, and they've missed a couple of their other players for a week, if not more.
Niners are tough, man.
Falcons are averaging more points a game. Bears, Seahawks, Cardinals, and then finally the Eagles. Do I expect the Eagles to climb up? I do. But how many spots? They're 12th in the NFC, so what do they get to? 8th? 6th? Is that still going to be good enough?
No. It's not good enough. It's not good enough with how they're built.
7 teams make the playoffs.
Expectations. I'm telling you, it is a strange setup this year. Not what I expected. I completely missed the boat on this NFC.
All right, we'll get back to the text in a second. Here's the list from Fox Sports.
Okay.
Ralph Vacchiano put this one together. He ranks 7 head coaches that are at risk of losing their job. Would you like to take a guess at who is number 1? This one should be easy.
This one should be easy?
He coached here before.
Correct. Okay. Doug Peterson. Dennis Allen's number 2 with the Saints. McCarthy's number 3 with the Cowboys.
He's not going anywhere, though.
Well, I know. Jerry has since said that.
He said he's not going anywhere.
Dable is 4th with the Giants. Now, this doesn't – I also don't know if this means necessarily in season. This might
saying
be –
hot seat, right?
Yeah,
meaning at the end of the year, you're going to lose your job.
Yeah.
I think McCarthy's gone at the end of the year, no matter what happens.
Yeah, of course. Zach Taylor is 5th. Sirianni 6th. Kevin Stefanski 7th. And I think that's unfair for Stefanski, even though he's riding with Watson. But is he riding with Watson, or is the organization riding with Watson? That's, another topic.
Jameis Winston, save your job, baby.
But here's what they wrote about Sirianni. Let's see if this is fair or unfair. 2 seasons ago, Sirianni's Eagles played in the Super Bowl. Heading into last December, they were 10-1. But it is all unraveled from there in a mess of dysfunction, coordinator changes, and general unhappiness that almost cost Sirianni his job during the offseason. Now he needs to get to the playoffs to keep it, and he might need to make a bit of a postseason run too. He certainly has a team loaded enough to do it. The problem is they're floundering at 3-2. Worse, they invested heavily in their offense with huge contracts for quarterback Jalen Hurts, wide receivers A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, running back Saquon Barkley, tight end Dallas Goedert, and 3/5 of their offensive line, but they haven't topped 21 points since opening day. If Sirianni, who has cycled through coordinators like his players change cleats, can't get that offense and his team going, owner Jeffrey Lurie isn't going to just sit back and let the championship window close on his franchise.
When I hear about he cycled through coordinators, 2 guys got head coaching jobs.
True.
His original coordinators for his first 2 years got head coaching jobs.
I'm going to guess his point is the coordinators last year, and if it doesn't work out this year, what are you going to do? You're going to fire these 2 coordinators too?
The thing is, nobody's thinking that the coordinators are a problem. And no one's thinking the coordinators are a problem on the defensive side of the ball, right?
Absolutely not.
And Kellen Moore, a lot of people, what are people saying? That Kellen Moore, they're looking at him and going, this isn't his offense.
This isn't his offense, right.
It's Nick Sirianni. It's totally on him.
So,
and I don't believe he has the kumbaya story they're telling you about the players.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
I don't buy it.
Well, look,
not
I'll say this.
Do I
we'll
believe
find
they
out
like him?
Sunday.
Right. Do I believe that they like this guy a lot? And they personally like him? 100%.
Yeah.
Show me the quotes where people talk about him being a strategist, a great teacher,
We've all liked the boss, but didn't think they were necessarily good at it.
Name names, coward.
No. I like this one radio host I work with, but I don't think he's good at it. John Kincade.
Oh, I thought you meant Connor.
Wow.
That was
Producer.
terrible.
Wow. Yeah. But the host of the Locked On Phillies podcast.
Damn right. Subscribe on YouTube.
Coming up next, we'll get more of your text messages. And where do some of the Sixers rank on this top 100 players list? And do you even give a damn? That's your choice. I'll let you know next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Controlling what they can control. I'm Connor Thomas.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. We'll get to some of your text messages in a second, but the NBA Top 100 list comes out. John Kincaid's favorite time of the year. Lists. That's why we don't spend much time on it. Paul George at 21. Maxey at 19.
Whoa. Paul George is 21?
Yeah. He's still a very good batter. Did you see? His season last year was tremendous.
Oh, I think he had his best season in 3.
Well, yeah, because he was healthy.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But he's at 21. Maxey's at 19. That's so cool that he's getting that recognition. Obviously, he's a max contract player now, so of course he's going to get that
All-Star last year, too.
Yeah, but we remember him as, little Maxey. Now
what
it's
number,
like
Maxey?
19.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
That's
amazing.
Great respect.
Yeah, absolutely great respect.
I would have been way off on these numbers.
And then Embiid comes in at 8. So I'll just quickly go through the top 10. Number 10, I think he should be higher, and he's going to be higher. They have Anthony Edwards at 10. He should be higher.
That's low.
He should be higher. Durant's at 9, Embiid's at 8, LeBron's at 7, which is amazing that he's still doing what he's doing in his career. Same with Steph Curry, he's at 6. And then your top 5 are Tatum, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 4, Giannis at 3, Luka at 2, and, of course, Nikola Jokic
Is
at
SGA
1.
too high?
I don't think so. He had an unbelievable year, and also he's in the going into the prime of his career type spot.
Okay, let me ask you this. You're an NBA GM. SGA Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, not even
Anthony
a question.
Edwards.
So I don't know how anybody could put him ahead.
Both sides of the
I don't know how anybody could put him ahead.
Well, because Ant's what, 22, 23?
Maybe,
yeah, but if you're
still,
it doesn't matter. Right now, I think Anthony Edwards is way too deep in that list.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to probably average more points a game than Anthony Edwards.
He's an amazing player. And by the way, I knew nothing about him. And then you watch him and you just go, oh my God.
Yeah,
this guy's so entertaining.
That trade worked out for him.
He's so entertaining.
And Ant also has this weird X factor thing in big games that I don't think Shai's shown as much yet, which I don't know if they account for that in this list. If it's just overall basketball player, there's an argument to be made that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander does more, but Anthony Edwards can be more impactful.
Right. Yeah. I think that's fair. But yeah, those are your 3 Sixers that are in the top 100. All right, what do we have on the text line, Connor, about any of our topics today? I was talking to Bill Colarulo during the break. He said you guys had good topics.
That's very nice.
About that. Thank you a lot, Bill. And your topics on the Mike Missanelli Show, 10 o'clock today, will be equally
Bill's
as amazing.
got a nice, crisp pair of capris on this morning, ready to go.
Yes, he does.
Looking sharp.
What do we got?
All right, so we have a check-in here from Larry in Delco, and he goes to that conversation about what the Eagles can do differently to make this team look better, and he also goes to the outside the organization approach. He brings up how he wants Howie to make a splash and trade for Max Crosby and help this pass rush out.
So we talked about this before the show. Unless you're giving the Raiders a king's ransom, why would they move on from him? You're trying to build something. I get it. Building is through the draft. But why would you move on from Crosby just yet?
I don't have a good answer for you.
Yeah, why would you?
Unless they see that they're nowhere close and they're like, we need to find a quarterback somehow and we need assets to go trade up for a guy.
Yeah, I think it's we play fantasy football.
Yeah, he's not a free agent until 2027.
There's no reason that they're dealing.
And so then it would have to be King's ransom. The fact that he has 2 years of control still, you would have to give up a boatload of first-round picks.
What do you get? Are you giving 3 first-round picks up for him? Sure. I think they'd listen.
I don't think it'd take 3 for an edge rusher.
Dude, he's a
I understand.
And he's entering he's just entering his
27
prime.
years old.
I understand. I don't think that there's an edge rusher in football that's getting 3 first-round picks.
TJ Watt. TJ Watt might get 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Defensive player.
A second,
defensive
a
player of
third.
the year guy. But
Aiden Hutchinson when his leg's not broken.
No, I really do. I think that I think this is what we get into, though. We get into the idea of let's do the fans play fantasy football.
By the way, Shefty on our show yesterday
said, why would they deal it?
We didn't even ask him about it. He just straight up said, by the way,
they're not.
Myles Garrett and Max Crosby are not being traded.
Yeah, I don't think it's realistic.
All I see is fans talking about it. I'm like, what are you doing? Why would they get rid of those? It's not just trading a good player. You want to trade Devontae Adams if you're them any day of the week.
No, the guys that are
have
available
Devontae
are who was the guy from Cleveland that the Eagles traded for a few years ago? They trade
defensive player.
They trade like a 4th-round pick for him, and he ended up doing nothing.
From Chicago, Robert Quinn.
Robert Quinn, yes, thank you. I thought there was a guy.
Nothing.
There was a guy from Cleveland too that the Eagles traded for. I'll double check.
Robert Quinn was Chicago.
Yes, that one.
The guy from Cleveland was the same, but it was the same. It was like a D tackle or something. But it's still it's that whole
some
idea.
sort of defensive end, and they traded like a 4th-round pick for it. It wasn't anything crazy, but there's not going to be that blockbuster move in the NFL. The biggest moves, that Devontae Adams might end up being the biggest move that we see this year.
Possible, yeah.
Like, I don't think these edge rushers are going to be available. That people,
the big ones are not.
Yeah, they're definitely.
There's no reason to do it. Yeah. You're not going to get a return that is in any way even, because teams just aren't going to give it to you unless you're trading and you're trying to get rid of Jahan Dotson and you get a 3rd-round pick for him.
Which we all were in favor of when it happened.
I was celebrating Jahan Dotson being here.
Right.
The idea that now,
well, I think we need to slow down on the Jahan Dotson thing a little bit.
Okay.
Because
believe me, we can't get any slower on his performance.
We're only 5 games in. And
think about that. We're 5 games in.
Okay, I know. But we're 5 games in. And I think there are going to be moments this year still where we see and we say we're very glad we have that guy over what Quez Watkins was. Like, think about what a 3rd wide receiver has to be impactful. If that's a valuable position, you need, 400, 500 yards out of him and maybe 3 touchdowns? Like, I don't think it's crazy to say that could still happen. He's been disappointing so far, but 2 weeks ago we were talking about Cooper DeJean, how he hasn't made it on the field, what's wrong with him, and now he's a guy that we're talking about this past week having an impactful performance.
I think my bias is that if there was ever an opportunity for Jahan Dotson to step in and show that he could make an impact in this organization, he had 3 games to do it without A.J. Brown, and he was non-existent.
Totally
he wasn't
fair.
even, and he was barely open.
I'm not betting on it. I'm just saying,
No, I got you.
I'm not closing the door.
You don't have a
on
Dotson
why would you give
jersey
up.
on.
No, but I'm not closing the door on the fact that he could make impact plays at some point this season.
By the way, Jannard Avery.
Jannard Avery.
Yeah, he was a outside linebacker who could come off the edge.
Did he stay more than 1 year though?
He
Here?
did.
Yeah,
he stayed
did.
here he got traded.
3 years? Did he stay 2 full years?
2 full years.
Yeah.
And had a total of 2.5 sacks.
Jeez. My God.
Almost
you know
one
what's
per
funny
year.
is, here's the reason why I don't want Howie making moves.
That was a
during
4th
the
round
season.
pick, by the way.
Because Howie making moves during the season, you could do the laundry list of they're usually bad. They're usually bad.
The last one that mattered that was a trade was Jay Ajayi.
Now, that was a great one.
That was a great
And we're
trade.
talking about 6 seasons ago.
Yeah, because Linval Joseph and Dominican Sue were free agents. They were just not on teams at the time. So, yeah, I mean, but it's hard. Like, in
By the way,
season trades.
7 seasons ago.
Golden Tate, that was a nothing trade
That was a
until the
nothing.
playoff game when Nick Foles threw the fourth quarter
the Chicago
touchdown.
touchdown. Like he was at the very corner of the end zone.
Yep. All right,
Great throw.
give us one more text, Connor.
All right, so we also have people checking in on the idea about the Eagles as a comparison to other teams.
Okay.
Zach from Florida says, the only time I compare my squad to the other is when they're playing each other. Other than that, I look at the problems my teams have and focus on those because I'm not going to accept flaws just because other teams have them.
But the only thing is, like, if you compared the Eagles and the Browns, it's not close. The Eagles are the better team. But the game was 20-16. Like, Jalen Hurts far better than Deshaun Watson. Saquon Barkley far better than Jerome Ford. The Eagles wide receivers better than what the Browns said at wide receiver. Well, what did it matter? It was a 20-16 game because the game plan wasn't great. Hurts had a slow start to the game, ended up playing a good game. And the Eagles probably benefited from playing the Browns. If they played a lot of other teams, they would have lost that game if the game played the way that it did for the Eagles. So I get what he's saying. But sometimes you're still not necessarily getting all the information that you should probably be getting. Because we're going, oh, well, the Eagles are going to win this game. They have Jalen Hurts and they have Deshaun Watson. Nope. They were a false start away from maybe tying the football game. So what does that do for you?
I mean,
less. By the way, this topic's depressing me now.
It is, isn't it? This is your fault, dude.
It'll feel better.
It is,
on Sunday.
and I'm the one who brought it
You
up.
asked me you told me that they might not make the playoffs.
So analytical.
It'll feel better on Sunday. But the thing you can't do, like just the opponent you play comparison, that works for teams that are mediocre. That works for teams that are bad. But when you're a good team with playoff aspirations and Super Bowl aspirations, you're going to end up playing good teams, so you have to compare the team to the top teams.
Yeah, but I think another thing that we do that might be a flaw is when we look at the Eagles' issues, we try to see what the Lions' issues are, right? Every team has a flaw to them. But are the Lions' strengths better than the Eagles' strengths? Right? And that's something that we don't do. We're always looking for the Eagles struggle here, but these teams struggle there.
They are.
Instead of, hey, the Eagles are good at this, but are they as good as what the other teams are doing? Coming up next, it's the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. By the way, 11 a.m. today, Angelo Cataldi joins the Mike Missanelli show.
What's that guy Cataldi been doing with himself?
Two staples in this city when it comes to sports talk. Talk it out. Coming up at 11 o'clock. I
Do not
can't
miss
wait.
that
Yeah,
one.
I know. I'm going to be listening to that one. I can't wait. So that comes your way at 11 o'clock.
I interned under both of them at one point.
Worked by you.
That's really the story. Wait till I write my book on the two of them.
Yeah, I'm sure. Coming up next, it's the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now is the time to become a Fanatic MVP. Go right now.
9:48 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Normally at this time, we would do the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, which is the 3 best minutes from today's show. And it's always brought to us by Von C. Brewing Company in Norristown. Check out their new Key 3, the Helles Golden Lager, a Munich-style Helles brewed with all German ingredients. The Stony Creek East Coast IPA, which is an American IPA with citrusy hop notes and a smooth, dry finish. And the Uncle Jerry's Wit, which is a Belgian-style wheat beer or wit beer, depending on how you want to say it. Visit VonCBrewing.com. Find out where you can pick up your Key 3 from Von C today. But I forgot a second, Johnny. I forgot. It's Thursday Night Football, man.
Make me some money.
Let's make some money. Let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. I love this man. We talk to him every single week around this time. Our man Michael Westwood from GBIWins.com. That's all they do, by the way, is win. So make sure you call the recorded line. It's 1-800-885-2525. Again, 1-800-885-2525. Michael, what's going on, man? Good morning.
Andrew, John, what's happening? I am back week 7 of the NFL, and I'm going to tell you guys something right now. Maybe you'll agree or disagree. I'm very disappointed in what's going on in the NFL. I mean, if you saw Monday night's football game, which I know that you did, I was at that game. It was the most boring game I've ever seen. I was there with 7 clients. These guys wanted to leave at halftime. I mean, there were penalties upon penalties. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there were about 240 things of penalties. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. I don't know what the NFL is turning into, but you know what? I'm making a ton of money with their mistakes, and that's the bottom line. And I'm going to do something that's going to be sort of outlandish. It's something I very, very rarely do, and I'm going to do it for you and your clients, your listeners. I'm going to give you my 2-team combo this evening. And what I mean by that, it's going to be a parlay between the NFL as well as the college. So the Broncos are playing the Saints this evening, and in college, Boston College is playing Virginia Tech. I'm going to give both games out on my free recorded hotline. It's 1-800-885-2525. Again, 1-800-885-2525. You'll be connected to my free recorded hotline where you're going to get my 2-team combo. It's free. It's on me. Andrew, you know I make money, man. 40 years in the sports handicapping world. I know how to win. Follow me closely with these 2 games.
Yeah, I'd say 40 years is a pretty good resume. And by the way, I don't think you say anything outlandish. John, you're my witness. I said this to you guys the other day on our show. I want to be entertained watching the Eagles again. Like, I've been bored watching the Eagles this season. So it's not just what you watched Monday night. It's been the entire landscape. It's been boring football, and the referees have been definitely playing a hand on it. But, Michael, John has a question for you about something cool you guys are doing.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think you've been holding out on us. I'm going to throw you right under the bus in front of our listeners.
Never hold.
Wait. There's a velvet rope thing going on here. What's this platinum group, and why am I just hearing about it now?
Oh, who let the cat out of the bag, my brother? Who let the cat out of the bag? Listen, within my organization, when you sign up, there are 2 different levels. The first level is you get involved with us. You pay a few dollars. You get a series of ball games. You're happy. It goes back and forth, winning, losing. It's all out of fun. I've got a part of my firm called the Platinum Group where I handle a certain amount of people from around the country. And these are people who are people like us. They're regular people. They're blue-collar workers, doctors, lawyers, actors, athletes, people who know that if I say it's going to snow in the Mojave Desert at 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight, you better bring your skis because it's going to snow. So they get preferential treatment on certain games, and I'm going to give that to you this evening. I mean, these 2 games tonight, I very rarely will give out 2 games for free, and this is why I'm calling it my 2-team combo. And there's a guarantee that goes with this, John. I'm going to guarantee that if I do not go 2-0, God forbid, if I do not go 2-0, I'm going to give 1 month of my football away absolutely free and on me. So the Broncos playing the Saints tonight, Boston College playing Virginia Tech. I need to go 2-0. All you have to do right now to be involved with this, it's free. It's on a recorded message. All you have to do is dial 1-800-885-2525. Again, it's 1-800-885-2525. Again, you'll be connected to my free recorded hotline. You'll get my 2-0. And if you like what you see, you'll call me tomorrow and say, how do I get involved?
And I expect you to go 2-0. And if you don't, you get the free month of the Platinum Group, which you guys just keep on pumping out winners. That's why you've been in the business for over 40 years. You guys got to check out GBIWins.com. Again, the phone number, 1-800-885-2525. Michael, you're the man. We appreciate it. We will let our differences go aside about the Fightins and the Mets this time.
Let it go, baby. Let it go. All I got to say is one thing. There's been a lot of smack talking here in New York about the Giants beating the Eagles on Sunday. But you want to know something? I'm not a Giant fan, so I'll be rooting my you-know-what off on Sunday for the Eagles to come through.
Damn right. You're the man, Michael. We appreciate it as always, man. We can't wait to talk to you again next week.
You got it. Have a great day, guys.
All right, there's our man, Michael Westwood. Again, the number 1-800-885-2525.
Did you catch that? Did you catch it? I didn't catch it yesterday, and I caught it today.
What?
Thinking about this game. I'm just hearing a handicapper there joining us. He says he'll be rooting his ass off for the Eagles.
The Eagles. Yeah.
That tells me, look.
Eagles by 3.
He roots money.
Or
they're
4.
3.5. Yeah. He roots for his bank account.
Yeah.
And his customers.
Yeah.
He gave us a little bonus pick right there without even.
Go Birds, baby.
Love
it. So check him out. All right, everybody. The Mike Missanelli Show is coming your way next.
That's always great. And Angelo Cataldi.
11 o'clock to two legends.
I had to Google him. I hear he was very successful.
Well, Mike Missanelli would tell you to Google him.
I don't have to Google Mike. It's this Angelo guy. Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partners, FT Young Heating and Air Conditioning, and make a donation today to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. I will not miss a minute of Missanelli and Cataldi. They never put that show together because there was nobody that would have been willing to produce it.
11 a.m., man.
They pulled their hair out.
Good luck, Ray. Just kidding.
Have fun.
Everybody have a great rest of your day. We'll be back at it tomorrow on a Football Friday, Johnny. A payday.
I can't wait.
A payday football
And we're going
Friday.
across enemy lines in the 9 o'clock hour, too.